If you're into battle anime, you definitely know the classic formula of the underdog protagonist. You know the type: loud, underestimated by everyone, chasing an impossible dream and shouting it out for the whole world to hear. It's Naruto wanting to become Hokage. It's Midoriya aiming to be the #1 hero. That formula works because we love watching the underdog rise. And when Black Clover kicks off, the first impression is exactly that. But the brilliance of this story lies in the detail. Asta doesn't just have little magic, like some others in the genre. In a world where every single person is born with magical power, he has none, zero. He's a glitch in the system, and the power he eventually gains isn't some rare form of magic. It's the ability to cancel out other people's magic. That changes everything. He's not playing the same game. He's flipping the board entirely. It's the hero's journey pushed to its absolute limit. That's why today on the channel, Black Clover, the shonen that looks like a cliche, but redefines the hero's journey. The story begins in Hodge Village, where a priest finds 2 abandoned babies on the church steps. From the names embroidered on their clothes, he learns who they are: Yuno, the quiet and gentle boy, and Asta, a walking ball of energy. 15 years later, Asta is trying to propose to Sister Lily, but gets shot down every time until she silences him with her magic, a pretty common scene around there. When he persists, Yuno stops him, and the other church orphans tease Asta for not having a shred of magic, something unheard of. Asta tries to show off his physical strength, but Yuno, who possesses insane magical power, always outshines him. The two share the same dream: to join the Magic Knights and become the Wizard King, the strongest mage in the kingdom.
That's right! I'm gonna get the most awesome grimoire ever! Make a name for myself! I'll follow in your footsteps and become the Wizard King!
Despite everyone doubting him, Asta trains his body every day, believing that once he gets his grimoire, he'll finally be able to use magic. The day of the grimoire acceptance ceremony arrives. 2 arrogant nobles start mocking the commoners, claiming only royalty has enough magic to pass the Magic Knight's exam. When the ceremony begins, the grimoires choose their owners, but nothing comes to Asta. Yuno, on the other hand, receives a 4-leaf clover grimoire, a sign of immense luck and power, the same kind the first Wizard King used.
The grimoire that was bestowed upon the first Wizard King?
Even empty-handed, Asta doesn't give up and challenges Yuno for the title of Wizard King, but Yuno simply ignores him. After the ceremony, Asta is down in the dumps but still determined. Out of nowhere, the 2 nobles attack Yuno, but he defeats them easily. Suddenly, Revchi, a former Magic Knight turned bandit, appears. He restrains everyone with his chains and steals Yuno's grimoire. Asta charges in to save his friend, but is completely overpowered and pinned to a wall. Revchi reveals that his chains measure magical power and that Asta has exactly 0. Just as Asta is about to give up, Yuno shouts that Asta is his true rival. This encouragement summons a tattered grimoire with a 5-leaf clover, which flies toward Asta. A giant black sword emerges from the book.
Asta's no loser, he's my rival!
It's revealed that the first 3 leaves of the clover represent integrity, hope, and love. The 4th, good luck. And in the 5th, lives a devil. 10 years ago, Yuno was a crybaby who was always falling down. Asta was always there to help him up, promising to protect him no matter what. In another flashback, Sister Lily reads them the story of the first Wizard King who defeated a demon and saved the world. Asta is completely fired up by the tale, and it's there that their shared dream is born. One day, Asta climbs the orphanage fence and declares he's going to become the Wizard King. His reason? So he can marry Sister Lily. She tells him one thing has nothing to do with the other, and Yuno bursts out laughing. Asta was the kind of kid who, when trying to help, only made things worse. Like the time he tried to soothe a baby and made it cry even harder. In another memory, Yuno is sent to deliver a letter and gets mugged by a drunk who steals his necklace. Asta appears out of nowhere and tries to take the guy on, but gets beaten up badly. Even covered in bruises, he keeps getting back up and demanding the necklace back, until the drunk, tired of hitting him, gives up and leaves. Seeing his friend's determination, Yuno apologizes for putting him in danger, but Asta just reaffirms his promise to always protect him.
I'm so sorry, it's my fault. It's like I said, I've always got your back. You know that.
Back in the present, Revchi is panicking over the grimoire and the sword that have just appeared. A devil's shadow looms behind Asta. With a single swing of the sword, he nullifies the villain's chain magic. As he attacks Revchi, Asta shouts that he'll become the Wizard King even without magic, because his true magic is never giving up. Revchi is knocked out cold.
I will be the Wizard King!
saved me yet again.
Asta explains that he trained his body because he had no magical power. He and Yuno then recall the promise they made and reaffirm their pact of rivalry for the title of Wizard King. Ever since the giant demon was defeated, the kingdom has been protected by the Wizard King and his 9 squads of magic knights, the kingdom's elite fighting force. In the present, Asta and Yuno are training non-stop for the Magic Knights entrance exam. Meanwhile, Sister Lily and Father Orsi are worried, especially about Asta, who is heading to a magic exam with no magic whatsoever. They talk with a local elder, who reassures them and reveals that the 2 nobles who attacked Yuno dropped out of the exam after their encounter with Revchi. The elder is suspicious of Asta's 5-leaf grimoire, but chooses to keep that concern to himself. While training, Asta is confronted by Nash, one of the younger orphans, who tells him all his effort is useless. Nash believes that poor orphans like them can never achieve their dreams. Asta, in true shonen protagonist fashion, shouts at him not to give up and promises he'll prove that anyone can achieve greatness. That night, Lily and Orsi prepare a special farewell dinner for the boys, with several dishes of potatoes. The next morning before they leave, Nash tells Asta that if he passes the exam, he too will start believing in his own dream of becoming a magic knight. As she watches them go, Lily remembers finding them as babies. Asta and Yuno begin their long journey to the royal capital, and the road itself becomes an extension of their training. Finally, they arrive in the capital, where the exam awaits them. The boys arrive in Kika and register for the Magic Knights entrance exam. As everyone waits, strange birds, which are basically power level detectors, start showing up. They steer clear of Yuno, but swarm Asta, essentially screaming to the world that the kid has 0 magic. Trying to shake off the birds, Asta bumps into a huge, intimidating man, thinking he's just another candidate. Bad idea. He accidentally offends the guy, who turns out to be Yami, captain of the Black Bulls, a squad known for causing more destruction than they prevent.
Hey there. Sorry about that.
You got a death wish, boy.
There's not a single person on that squad who doesn't have a screw loose.
Before Yami can turn Asta to dust, he leaves with his squad mates, Finrel, a shameless flirt, and Gordon, a guy who only whispers. After the scare, a guy named Seikei introduces himself to Asta and starts commentating on the captain's entrance like an announcer at an event. There's no Zal of the Silver Eagles, Fuegalion of the Crimson Lions, Jack of the Green Mantises, and a whole crew of other stylish figures, including William of the Golden Dawn, the most elite squad of them all. During the tests, Asta fails at everything involving magic, while Yuno and Seikei shine. In the final test, the candidates have to fight in pairs. Seeing his one chance to prove himself, Asta looks for a strong opponent, and his new buddy, Seikei, volunteers. When the fight starts, Seikei reveals his true colors. He only picked Asta because he thought he was a weakling, and beating him would be his ticket to an easy life. But the plan backfires. Asta defeats Seikei with a single swing of his sword and shouts for everyone to hear that he's going to be the Wizard King. What an entrance!
Let's do this, Asta! Ha ha! I'm gonna be the Wizard King!
After the surprise knockout, the crowd thinks Asta has completely lost it. Finrel is floored, since Asta hadn't shown any magic before, but Yami figures it out. The boy has no magical power, and that intrigues him. Meanwhile, Yuno fights an arrogant noble named Salin, and defeats him with a tornado, without even breaking a sweat. Too easy. Then comes the selection, like an NBA draft. Yuno gets an offer from every squad and chooses the Golden Dawn, the dream team. As for Asta, crickets. Nobody wants the poor guy.
Wait. All of them?
It would be an honor to join the Golden Dawn.
No hands.
That's when Yami steps in. He confronts Asta, telling him that no one trusts an unknown power and that, without magic, he stands no chance. Yami unleashes a terrifying aura and asks if Asta really thinks he can surpass all the captains. Unfazed, Asta pounds his chest and says he'll never give up, no matter how many times he fails. Impressed by the kid's determination, Yami cracks a smile and invites him to his squad, the Black Bulls. Asta accepts on the spot.
I won't give up! I will become the Wizard King!
Come join our crew.
Right!
Later, a vengeful Seikei, who ended up in a bottom-tier squad because of his loss, follows Asta to the bathroom to get revenge with a poison lizard. But Yuno shows up, puts the guy in his place, and saves the day. Asta is then taken to the Black Bull's base with Finrel's spatial magic. He barely opens the door before he's greeted with a fiery explosion to the face. Yami welcomes him. Welcome to the worst squad of the Magic Knights.
Fresh from
Haj village! Asta!
Welcome to the Black Bulls.
While Yuno arrives at the Golden Dawn's base and gets a cold shoulder from a guy named Klaus, who isn't thrilled about a commoner joining the team, Asta faces a very different reception. He tries to introduce himself to the Black Bulls, but everyone is too busy fighting among themselves to even notice the rookie. Yami, out of patience, solves the problem by blowing a hole in a wall. Only then does everyone show up. Finrel introduces the crew: Vanessa, the heavy drinker; Luck, the battle freak; Gauche, the sister-obsessed creep; Charmy, the short girl with a lion's appetite; Gray, a silent giant; and Magna Swing, the hothead.
Vanessa Anoteka. Luck Voltia. Gauche Adley. This here is Charmy Papitson. And this is Gray. And there's Magna Swing.
Magna is unimpressed with Asta and puts him through an initiation ritual. The final test: block Magna's fire attacks. Asta deflects the smaller fireballs with his sword, but Magna launches a massive one, impossible to cut. On pure survival instinct, Asta uses the flat of his blade to bat the fireball right back in Magna's face. From a distance, Yami makes a mental note that the kid's sword can both cut and reflect magic. Magna emerges from the explosion unharmed and finally relents. He apologizes for the hazing and admits he's a commoner too. The rest of the squad congratulates Asta, and Magna hands him his robe, the team's official uniform. From a balcony, a girl named Noelle Silva watches everything with a disdainful look. The protagonist already has a new critic.
You earned this fair and square, Asta.
This is really mine.
Little insect.
Asta is shown to his new room and freaks out with joy, like a kid getting a new console for Christmas, since he's never had a space of his own. Magna Swing tells him to write a letter to the folks at the church, letting them know he made it into a squad. Elsewhere, Yuno is also settling in, and back at the church, everyone is shocked that both boys actually passed. Magna gives Asta a tour of the Black Bulls base and introduces the other rookie, Noelle Silva. The girl is royalty and immediately looks at Asta like he's an insect, and well, she literally calls him an insect, but Asta isn't one to take insults lying down and tells her the truth. In the Black Bulls, everyone is equal. To prove him wrong, Noelle tries to use her water magic, but her aim is about as good as a stormtrooper's, and she hits Magna instead. Annoyed, she throws her robe on the ground and storms off. Later, Asta does a little stalking and sees Noelle training. He figures it out instantly. The girl has a ton of power but can't control it. When she realizes she's been seen, she panics and accidentally traps herself in a giant water vortex that threatens to drown her. Yami's solution? The most brilliant and idiotic one possible. He throws Asta at the vortex. The crazy plan works. The anti-magic sword cuts through the spell, and Finrel saves them both from becoming pancakes on the ground.
Push past your limits!
Instead of making fun of her, Asta praises her power. Noelle finally calls him by his name, and the squad welcomes her back, saying they're all a bunch of failures anyway. Asta's life as a magic knight begins, with him cleaning, doing laundry, and feeding the base's animals. He's basically become the chore boy. He tries to wake Yami and gets yelled at to get lost, leaving him wondering what happened to the epic missions he'd imagined. At breakfast, he asks why Noelle, being royalty, doesn't help with the chores. Her answer is basically, because I'm rich, darling. Asta isn't a fan of that attitude and asks what magic knights actually do, and everyone gives a wilder answer than the last. Then Yami shows up and calls Magna for an adult mission. Asta wants to go, but he's turned away. The mission: a trip to the casino, where the two geniuses gamble and lose everything, including their clothes. They return to the base naked, having lost even their dignity. And what's Asta and Noelle's first official mission? To hunt wild boars near Saucy Village. Yes, boars. Super glamorous. Noelle is hesitant because of her lack of control, but Magna assures her he'll clean up any mess she makes. Since neither Asta nor Noelle can fly a broom, Magna gives them a ride on his crazy cyclone, which is like a souped-up flying motorcycle. Meanwhile, in Saucy Village, a group of villains led by a man named Heath appears out of nowhere, looking for a magic stone. It's pretty clear this boar hunt is about to get a lot more complicated. The mission starts with Asta running from a giant boar, looking like a scene out of The Lion King. Noelle tries to help with her water magic, but as usual, she hits Asta instead. Still, the kid shows he's not messing around and takes down not one, but 5 boars with just his sword.
Now that's what I call
On the way back, Magna opens up and tells them that as a teenager, he was a small-town bad boy who constantly challenged a guy named Seihi. He always lost, but it was Seihi who inspired him to become a real man and try for the Magic Knights exam. When they arrive in Saucy, the place is covered in a sinister mist. Asta, with his sword that's basically an anti-magic Swiss army knife, cuts the mist in half. Inside, they find the villagers cornered, with deadly ice stakes floating above their heads. Magna acts fast, destroys the traps, and finds his friend Seihi dead on the ground. The villain of the day, Heath, attacks with a car-sized block of ice, but Asta slices through the spell like butter. Heath says he's there to eliminate the villagers, whom he calls beasts. Asta doesn't think twice and promises to protect everyone. Heath creates an endless shower of ice stakes, and the Black Bulls can barely defend the people. Things look grim, but when a little girl cries out for help, Noelle is finally inspired. She creates a massive water dome, a true liquid shield, protecting everyone from the attack. It seems the royal has finally found her place in the battle.
We need you! I won't run! Never! What's more, I am a member of the Black Bulls!
Noelle did an amazing job creating a sea dragon's nest, a giant water bubble to protect the townspeople. With that cover, Asta charges at Heath, but the villain is smart and creates an ice rink on the ground, causing Asta to slip and fall. Heath ignores Asta and tries to break the water barrier. Magna wants to help but is almost out of mana. Still, Asta doesn't give up and attacks again and again, but Heath's ice is too strong and sends him flying every time. Seeing this, Magna gets an idea. He steps through the water barrier and yells to Asta that they're going to recreate the Black Bull's initiation ceremony. He unleashes an attack called Prison Death Scattershot, which are multiple fireballs, and promptly passes out. Heath blocks some of the fireballs, but Asta acts like a batter and hits them all back at the villain and his henchmen. Noelle, with incredible speed, creates a shield to protect Magna. Heath is trapped in flames that won't go out, and Asta seizes the chance to deliver the final blow with his sword.
Not done yet!
They tie up the bad guys, but one manages to escape. Asta is so exhausted that he passes out and falls asleep right there. Afterward, Keith refuses to say who he works for and does something crazy. He and his men turn themselves into ice statues and shatter into 1,000 pieces. Kind of like the T-1000 at the end of Terminator 2, but with ice. Later, the anti-magic bird that hangs out with Asta finds the magic stone Heath was after. The trio visits the grave of Nick and Anna's grandfather, and Nick says they can keep the stone as payment. Meanwhile, the mage who escaped reports to a mysterious figure wearing a Golden Dawn emblem. The trouble is just getting started. Back at the Black Bull's base, Yami congratulates Asta, Noelle, and Magna for defending the town, and Vanessa explains the star system. Golden Dawn is in the lead with 70 stars, while the Bulls are languishing at -30. On payday, Asta is thrilled with his salary and swears he could buy Tatoes for Sister Lily for years, while Noelle, used to nobility, barely reacts.
There's so much money! There's like 200,000 Yule here!
Barely pocket change.
Wow, are you kidding me?
To celebrate, Vanessa takes Asta and Noelle to Kika. The big city dazzles Asta, and the trio heads to the black market to find an item that can help Noelle control her magic. While trying on a necklace, her power goes haywire and hits Seikei, who shows up acting all suave. The chaos escalates when a thief snatches an old woman's purse. Asta takes off after him without a second thought, determined to get it back. The chase becomes a spectacle in the streets of Kika. The thief escapes on a magic cloud. Seikei speeds after him on a scooter, and Asta, on foot, tears through everything with his anti-magic sword, dispelling the cloud. Cornered, the thief wounds Seikei's foot with a poisoned blade. He overacts, but Vanessa applies an antidote and ends his theatrics. The purse is returned, and the grateful old woman reveals her disguise. She is Julius Novachrono, the Wizard King, wandering incognito to observe new kinds of magic.
Granny!
Be careful out there.
Stay out of trouble.
This is why my secret excursions are so necessary.
From above, Julius spots Yuno, Klaus, and Mimosa on a mission protecting the noble Salim, who lost to Yuno in the exam. Salim insists on visiting Yuno's village, an idea Klaus finds suspicious. On the way, bandits attack, and Yuno handles them effortlessly, reinforcing his reputation. In Hajj, the reunion with the father and the children is warm, but Klaus's suspicion only grows, a sign that this visit has ulterior motives. In Hajj, a dinner at the church brings Yuno, Klaus, and Mimosa closer to Father Orsi, and sister Lily. Yuno learns that Asta sends a large part of his salary home and vows to do the same, keeping the rivalry that drives them alive. Salim stalls his departure and asks for water. Lily goes to the well and is kidnapped by hidden accomplices. Yuno wants to act immediately, but Klaus prioritizes protecting Salim. Yuno ignores the order and heads into the woods alone, defeating the henchman until he finds Lily being held hostage. The bandits demand his grimoire, certain he's nothing without it. Before the exchange, a magic spear flies through the air. Klaus arrives and exposes the plot, revealing that the kidnapping was orchestrated by Salim, driven by his envy of Yuno. With the case solved, the Golden Dawn receives another star for the successful mission. From afar, Asta hears the news and reaffirms his promise to catch up to his rival, reigniting the race for recognition. At the Black Bull's base, Asta is training like a madman with Magna on his back when the group finally names the bird, Nero.
How about we name him Nero?
Narrow.
Yami arrives with the next mission, a newly discovered dungeon, and by the Wizard King's direct order, Asta is going. Noelle and Luck complete the team, and Finrel opens the portal. The mana inside is overwhelming for everyone except Asta, who, with no patience, triggers a trap, and immediately solves it with his anti-magic sword. Luck gets so hyped by the display that he starts setting off traps on purpose just to watch Asta nullify everything. To Yami, this is the kind of mission that pushes rookies past their limits, and Luck instantly understands the Wizard King chose Asta for that very reason. Suddenly, Luck senses another presence and dashes off alone. Asta and Noelle navigate through trap-filled rooms. She falls into a vine trap. He saves her, but they both end up captured. A spell frees them, and Yuno appears, arriving to settle the score by saving the pair.
And with that, Asta. Hey, Yuno.
The reunion immediately turns into a squabble. Klaus scolds Yuno for helping another squad, and Mimosa, who, surprise, is Noelle's cousin, immediately starts taking jabs at her magic. The argument devolves into who has the better captain, until Mimosa maps the dungeon and Yuno leads the Golden Dawn one way, while Nero guides Asta and Noelle another. Back in the capital, the Wizard King is already aware that a team from the Diamond Kingdom, led by a man named Lotus, has also invaded the tomb, but he trusts his knights to handle it. Meanwhile, Luck has already wiped the floor with Lotus's goons, and now wants a one-on-one fight. Lotus fills the room with smoke, weakening the boy and making the entire chamber spin. Elsewhere, the Golden Dawn reaches a massive gate, and Mimosa is hit square on by a Diamond Kingdom mage. On the other side, though weakened, Luck ignores his body's limits and charges at Lotus. The race for the treasure has become an all-out war. In a few flashbacks, we see the connection between Asta and Yuno and learn Luck's backstory, a boy who was always told that in this world, no one helps anyone, so you have to win alone. As an adult, he charges recklessly at Lotus, who traps him in a cage of solid smoke. On another front, Klaus and Yuno face Mars from the Diamond Kingdom. Noelle senses Luck's mana fading. Asta wants to help, but the pressure to reach the treasure is mounting. Klaus tells Yuno to press on, but the boy turns back when he sees his partner in danger. Asta also ignores Luck's "I don't need anyone" attitude and joins the fray. With Noelle providing cover, the three turn the tables and corner Lotus, until Asta hits him with the anti-magic sword. Even so, on the other side, Mars remains a brick wall, and Yuno and Klaus start to lose badly. Lotus tries to escape, but Asta, Noelle, and Luck give chase, only for him to vanish into the smoke. Observing Mars, Klaus notices he has magic stones embedded in his body, basically artificial power-ups from the Diamond Kingdom. Yuno attacks but barely scratches him and gets taunted for it. He remembers Asta's stubbornness and training and keeps pushing, but as a giant crystal sword descends to crush him, Asta arrives just in time and cuts the attack out of the air. The fight becomes a contest. Whoever takes down Mars first wins. Mars multiplies into stone clones. Luck clears out the copies. Asta finds the original and knocks him away, but the enemy returns with a massive suit of armor and crushes Asta, who responds with his old promise to overcome his lack of magic. He then shatters the armor with pure impact and takes Mars down for good.
Sure, I might be a pebble, but if so, that shatters the diamond!
With Mars tied up, everyone rushes into the treasure room. Yuno finds a scroll with strange writing that glows and disappears into his grimoire. Nero points Asta toward a keyhole in the wall, but the boy doesn't understand how it works. Suddenly, an alarm sounds. Mars has broken free, now with new armor and phoenix-like healing flames. He plows through Asta and sends Noelle flying when she tries to douse his fire. Mimosa rushes to heal her and becomes the new target. Trapped in a hole, Asta finds, with a little help from Nero, a brand new anti-magic sword. He returns with a vengeance and protects the girls. His first strike is nullified by Mars's healing, but Noelle's shout of encouragement makes the blade glow. The sword unleashes a wave that extinguishes Mars's healing flames and knocks him out. Victory is theirs, but at a cost. Asta collapses.
You dare give up until you beat him. Understand?
Yeah, I'll bring this guy down, and I'll get 1 or 2 hits in for you while I'm at it.
Noelle tells Mimosa to heal him. Mars gets up again, and the sight of the healing triggers traumatic memories. The Diamond Kingdom's twisted experiments and his friend, Fauna, being sacrificed. In a rage, he creates a giant crystal sword to crush Asta and Mimosa. Yuno, Klaus, and Luck are still trapped. Yuno breaks out of the prison by force, but doesn't have a spell fast enough to stop the attack. For a second, time seems to stop. A small girl appears next to Yuno, yawns, and blows a puff of air. The wind simply shatters Mars's magic and slams him against the wall, ending the fight.
Die!
Asta's new sword returns to his grimoire, and the dungeon begins to self-destruct. Yuno summons a wind arc for everyone to escape. Asta still tries to save Mars, but the ceiling collapses. Outside, Lotus, who had been lying in wait, rescues Mars and retreats. On the way, Mars regains his memories, thanks Lotus, and reaffirms the promise he made to Fauna. Later, with Asta healed, Klaus hugs both orphans and apologizes. Asta wakes up a week later to Noelle's relief, and to Luck's taunts, who's already itching for another fight. Yami gathers the squad. It's time to report to headquarters. Asta and Noelle head to the capital and run into Yuno, Klaus, and Mimosa. The poor girl gets flustered and runs off, and Noelle finally gets the obvious. Mimosa has a huge crush on Asta. At headquarters, Julius Novachrono, the Wizard King himself, greets the group. He asks Yuno to show him the new spell from the dungeon. Yuno admits he's only managed to use it once, but Julius assures him it will become something extraordinary. Asta shows him his grimoire, but the Wizard King can't make sense of it until Asta pulls out the new anti-magic sword, which drains his mana just by touching it. Julius concludes only someone with no magic can wield it. When Asta and Yuno ask how to become Wizard King, the answer is simple: merit. They are invited to a party, but there they face nothing but ridicule from other knights. Asta takes it quietly until they start mocking his friends. He stops Noelle from leaving, climbs onto a table, and promises he'll earn enough merit to shut everyone up, and one day, sit at the top.
Not a chance! It takes to become the Wizard King and prove you wrong!
The Magic Knight's banquet turns sour when Asta becomes the butt of the joke, and the nobility starts bombarding him with spells. With his new sword, he cuts through their magic like a machete through weeds, but gets trapped by Alekdora's sand. Solid Silva moves in with a water bullet for the final humiliation, but then Asta draws his larger sword, breaks free, and bats the attack back, forcing the noble to his knees. The tension gets so thick that Nozel and Fuego Leon nearly come to blows.
Amazing. Can you feel it?
Leopold, thrilled by the scene, declares Asta his rival, but the boy brushes him off, saying his focus is on Yuno. The brawl is cut short by a messenger. The capital is under attack by zombies. As the squad split up, Asta, as always, runs toward the loudest noise. In the North District, he finds raids cornering a little girl, and Asta arrives to ruin his plans. In the North, Asta cleans house on the zombies, while Raids, already eyeing the boy's potential, summons an even larger horde just to test him. Across the city, chaos reigns. The Silvas just watch from the sidelines. Charlotte and Saul are surrounded, Klaus is in a bind, and Yuno tries to find the undead's weak spot. Asta gets some heavy-hitting backup from Noelle, Leopold, and Fuego Leon. Raids, thinking he's the main event, calls anyone who doesn't understand his magic a sinner, and summons zombie number 4, Jimmy. Asta blocks the curse, saves the girl, and after a confidence boost from Fuego Leon, Noelle finally nails it and creates a water barrier. This frees Asta to spin like a Beyblade of swords, walls and demolish Jimmy, Raids, completely unfazed, summons Alfred, an electric zombie, and a flash in the sky alerts Yuno that the danger has escalated. Nozel, ever suspicious, notices the zombies are weakening and realizes there's a bigger plan at play. While King Augustus only cares about saving his own skin, Asta can't even get close to Alfred, who floats and shoots electricity everywhere, until a beam of fire evaporates him in a flash. It's Fuego Leon, who enters the fight, tells Asta to stand back, and, as casually as ordering coffee, calls him a rival in the race for Wizard King. Raids finally reveals his grudge. He was kicked out of the Purple Orcas for having dangerous magic, and now wants revenge. He summons his zombie number 1, Carl. Fuego Leon's first attack hits a barrier, but the captain creates his own defense, tears through the enemy's shield, and reduces Carl to ashes. With that, all the zombies in the capital fall at once. The crowd cheers, not noticing the sorceress watching from above, ready to crash the party.
The preparations must be nearly complete by now. Absolutely delicious.
With the zombies gone, Fuego Leon captures Raids and confiscates his grimoire, which has a single page with a single spell. Asta even laments the waste of such powerful magic. A cold voice whispers in Raids' ear that he's become dead weight, and the plan will continue. And so it does. Spatial magic portals open and eject several knights from the capital. A new villain, Catherine, appears to drain everyone's mana, but Yuno resists, taunts her, and dodges her curses while trying to figure out her game. She admits it. They came to eliminate one specific person. At the same time, a portal snatches Fuego Leon from the battlefield and throws him into a white dimension. He realizes too late that he was the target. The curse blinds Yuno, but his mana perception skyrockets. With Sylph, he uses the city's own mana to counterattack. In the empty dimension, Fuego Leon faces a mage he recognizes, and the suspense hangs in the air. Catherine invades a hall looking for more mana, and comes face to face with Charmy's appetite. Convinced the villain is trying to steal her food, Charmy summons her giant cook sheep, which drains Catherine's magic and knocks her out with a single punch.
I told you no.
Yuno arrives just in time to save the feast, but collapses from exhaustion in the girl's arms. Elsewhere, Leopold pressures Raids for information about Fuego Leon. Noel, connecting the dots, deduces the spatial mage is nearby, and Asta finds him in hiding. Fuego Leon's body is returned, alive, but missing an arm and with his grimoire intact. Raids tries to flee, but Asta cancels his escape magic with his sword and takes him down with a headbutt. New enemies arrive with slicing ice and curses. Asta injures himself to dispel the curse and faces the group, determined to stop them right then and there. Asta blocks a storm of attacks and Leopold joins him on the front line. Noel creates a barrier, but one of the enemies absorbs it and turns the tables on them. A piercing tornado needle's attack takes down Asta and Leopold. The finishing blow is only stopped because the cavalry arrives in the nick of time. The Mosa rushes to tend to Fuego Leon. The invaders introduce themselves as the Eye of the Midnight Sun and beat a hasty retreat, but not before trapping Asta in a disgusting slime and taking him with them.
Asta!
And gotcha!
We are the Eye of the Midnight Sun.
At their hideout, the mad scientist Sally can't wait to dissect the anti-magic boy. Her party is cut short when the Wizard King, Julius Novachrono, enters the room as if he owns time itself. With his time magic, he paralyzes the enemies, frees Asta, and delivers the message. He is the one Asta must surpass. Julius begins his interrogation, but a white light rips through the room, and a mysterious mage rescues his comrades. When the light fades, only one henchman is left standing, just enough for Julius to extract information. Back in the infirmary, he returns Asta to his comrades as they all await news on Fuego Leon and Leopold. Then comes the bombshell. Fuego Leon's pendant is missing. Julius suspects the item is linked to a stone tablet the terrorists are after, and that there's a traitor among the Magic Knights. Nozel swears revenge, and Leopold brands an oath onto his forehead, vowing to become the next Wizard King. In the enemy's hideout, their leader glares at the arm aged by Julius's magic and promises to defeat him. In the capital, Asta provokes Yuno, who effortlessly repels him and walks away, showing just how much stronger he's become. At the Black Bulls HQ, Asta earns a star and is promoted to 3rd class junior magic knight. Worried about Fuego Leon, he wants to train, but Yami orders him to rest. Fienrel decides it's time to get a girlfriend and sets up a group date. After eliminating half the squad for obvious reasons, he chooses Luck as his wingman, completely oblivious to Noel, who is secretly tailing them. At the venue, the plan goes south. Luck's attempts at flirting are as weird as possible, leading one girl away to admire his lightning lightning magic. Finn Rel strikes up a conversation on the balcony, leaving Asta with the last girl, Rebecca Scarlet. Noel watches everything, seething with jealousy, while Seikei boasts nearby until he gets a face full of water magic. Asta and Rebecca hit it off instantly when they discover they're both fiercely devoted to their younger siblings, but a drunkard shows up to ruin the mood, mocking Asta for being short and insinuating that Rebecca is just trying to use a magic knight. Asta, who doesn't take insults lying down, defends her honor and hurls the guy across the room right onto Seikei's table. Afterward, he and Rebecca run through the streets, with Noel hot on their trail. When she asks if he likes anyone, Asta says yes, but then admits he has no idea what a date is even for. Rebecca and a listening Noel are both left thinking, what?
I figured it out. What was the point of the whole mixer thing?
What? What?
In the end, both Finn Rel and Luck go home empty-handed. Back in Hodge Village, Father Orsi and Sister Lily receive news and a bit of cash. Yuno has been promoted to First-Class Intermediate Magic Knight and Asta to Third-Class Junior Magic Knight. While Yuno is congratulated at the Golden Dawn's HQ, he continues to send his entire salary to the church. At the Black Bull's base, Yami hands out paychecks and gives everyone the day off. Asta catches a ride with Magna to visit Rebecca, immediately triggering Noel's jealousy. Meanwhile, Ghost blows his entire salary on gifts for his sister Marie, and of course fate brings them all together. He finds Marie playing with Asta and completely flips out, mercilessly beating the boy. The situation gets worse when Marie declares she's going to marry Asta one day. Sister Teresa has to intervene and take Marie away. That night, Rebecca invites Asta to have dinner and stay over, and her younger siblings start teasing them about getting married. In the middle of the night, Ghost reappears and blasts Asta out of the house with an attack, but when Rebecca runs to check on him, she discovers the worst. The children are gone. With Rebecca's siblings missing, Noelle emerges from the shadows and reveals she saw children heading up the mountain. Sister Teresa confirms Marie is also gone. Ghosh is confident he can track his sister's mana through his mirror, while Asta reassures Rebecca, promising to rescue everyone. The trio heads up the mountain, leaving Noelle behind to call for backup, but the only person she can reach is Seikei. In the villain's lair, a bizarre man named Neji has kidnapped the children to be his friends. His partner, Baro, throws one of the boys, Marco, out into the snow. Asta sees it all from above, leaps from Gulch's broom to save the boy, and Sister Teresa heals him instantly. The hero leaves his robe with Marco for protection and storms the hideout. Gulch goes after Neji, while Asta confronts the cruel Baro and slams him against a wall. Seeing Marie in danger, Asta's demeanor changes, and he declares with terrifying coldness that he will not forgive them.
Big scary man. He said something about money.
I will make you pay!
While Seikei arrives at the Black Bull's base and runs into Gordon, and, to his misfortune, Yami, the fight on the mountain heats up. Asta demands to know why Baro is stealing magic from the children. Sister Teresa stops him, asking him to use his anti-magic to reverse the spells instead. She also reveals she trained Sister Lily and heard from her that Asta has a good heart. Suddenly, Sally appears, summoned by Baro. She blocks their attacks, knocks Asta down, and, in the middle of a twisted experiment, bites the boy just to test his blood. Teresa undoes Sally's spells, and her past is revealed. She was once a captain, the Crimson Leopard, and Fuego Leon's mentor. Sally then injects Baro with a substance, transforming him into a giant mud monster. Teresa orders Asta and Ghosh to protect the children, but Ghosh simply grabs Marie and flees, leaving the full weight of the battle on the others. Asta and Sister Teresa face the giant mud monster. Teresa summons a flame leopard to evacuate the children, while Baro tries to grab Neji again, but is stopped by Asta, who confronts Neji about his responsibilities. The monster keeps regenerating, and Teresa saves Asta multiple times, warning him not to underestimate an old lady. Marie finally punches Ghosh, snapping him back to reality. His duty is to protect everyone. He leaves his sister in a safe place and returns just in time to stop Asta from being crushed. Their plan is simple: hit Baro so hard he can't regenerate. Ghosh creates a new mirror spell that multiplies Asta, creating an army of Astas that steamrolls both Baro and Sally.
Look at me! Mirage Brigade!
Nej weeps, promising to pay for his crimes, and nearly receives a word of comfort from Asta until he's struck by an invisible attack. It's Lich, the leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun, who appears and strikes down Asta and Gauche. To save the boy, Sister Teresa throws herself in front of the blow. As he faces the enemy, Asta notices something shocking. Lich's grimoire has a 4-leaf clover, just like Yuno's. Asta kneels beside Teresa's body in disbelief. Lich orders Sally to retreat and declares his goal, to destroy the Clover Kingdom and create a new one in its place. Fueled by rage, Asta charges forward, but is easily knocked aside. As the final blow is about to land, Yami appears with Finrel, slices the attack in half, and takes over the fight. The battle between Yami and Lich is insane, and between clashes, they trade barbs about their pasts. Lich speaks of a powerful people massacred by humans. Yami, a foreigner who faced prejudice, shattered every barrier to become a captain. Yami confirms it was Lich who defeated Fuego Leon. In the middle of the showdown, Yami still finds time to teach Asta how to sense ki and predict movements. Valtos tries to trap Asta with portals, but the boy uses what he's learned to dodge and land a hit. Cornered, Lich brings the entire cave down on them. Buried under rubble, Asta and Yami rise from the debris, ready to continue the fight. Yami resumes his fight against Lich and tells Asta to take care of Valtos. Even without his sword, Asta dives into one of the portals and lands a powerful punch, slamming Valtos against a wall. Yami manages to immobilize Lich, but the man begins gathering magic for a suicidal technique that could kill everyone. Far away, Sister Teresa is alive. With the children's help, she transfers the last of her mana to Gauche. He demands Finrel take him back to the fight and arrives at the perfect moment. Gauche uses his mirror to reflect Lich's explosive attack right back at him, completely turning the tables. Gauche saves the day, and Yami doesn't miss the chance to tease him, already planning to take Lich in for questioning. Far from the cave, Noelle finds the children safe and sound and sees Marco wearing Asta's robe. Relieved, she's also annoyed they return to the fight without her. Suddenly, a portal opens on the battlefield. From it emerge Raya, Veto, and Fana, the dreaded third eye of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Fana heals Lich, who introduces the trio with grim titles. Veto, the Despair, shatters Yami's sword, but the captain continues to fight with just the broken blade. The pressure mounts, and Asta wants to help, but at that moment, 3 captains arrive as reinforcements: Nozel, Charlotte, and Jack the Ripper. The cavalry has arrived. Outside the cave, Rebecca finally realizes that Noelle has feelings for Asta. Inside, help has arrived, but the captains argue more than they assist. Jack just wants to slice everyone up. Charlotte masks her interest in Yami with insults, and Nozel openly despises Asta. The fight split off: Charlotte versus Raya, Jack versus Veto, and Nozel versus Fana to protect Lich. Yami devises a plan, asks Finrel for one last portal, and surprises Lich from above. Asta appears alongside him, and his anti-magic breaks a seal on the enemy. Lich screams that the swords belong to a master, but Asta retorts that he's just using what he found. Lich's power spirals out of control, threatening to obliterate everything. The third eye seals him, grabs Valtos, and retreats, promising to return for a rematch. Yami declares victory since the enemy fled. Exhausted, Asta collapses, and even Nozel admits the boy has his merits. Asta wakes up in the infirmary, with Mimosa tending to him. Klaus admits he was worried, and a hug from the Mimosa is enough to trigger Noelle's jealousy, causing her to shove Asta against the wall. Yuno appears just to tease him, and the two rivals renew their vow to become the next Wizard King. Asta visits Sister Teresa, who praises him and promises to tell Sister Lily of his heroic deeds. At Rebecca's house, he's greeted with a feast and gets a kiss on the cheek, to Noelle's silent despair. Back at the base, a pie baking contest ends with Charmy devouring the entire competition. Suddenly, Yami receives a letter summoning him and Asta to a meeting with the captains. Julius suspects a traitor in their midst and needs Asta's anti-magic to break the memory spells on their prisoners. The plan works, and before all the captains assembled in the prison, Julius announces, "There is a traitor among us."
One of you has been working with the Eye of the Midnight Sun.
The prisoners immediately point to the traitor, Gueldre Poizot, captain of the Purple Orcas. He tries to escape using invisibility magic and creating a fate cavalry, but Asta senses his key, cancels the magic, and Rill traps him inside a painting. Exposed, Geldre confesses everything: the kidnappings, the smuggling, and his alliance with the Eye of the Midnight Sun. To avoid panic, Julius decides to keep the matter secret and orders all squads to be investigated. He reveals reveals the enemy's true goal, to gather magic stones for a ritual of immense power. It was for one of these stones that they attacked Fuego Leon. Now, another stone is located in an underwater temple, and that mission is assigned to the Black Bulls, with Asta as the key. At the base, the squad is thrilled about a trip to the beach, but Yami quickly shuts them down. This is a job, not a vacation. The mission to the underwater temple begins at the beach, where the Black Bulls get distracted until Yami gets them in line and reveals that only Noelle can get them there. Terrified of her inability to control her magic, she's given a 1-week ultimatum to surpass her limits. That night, while trying to practice, Asta clumsily appears, promising to catch her if she loses control, and the two begin training together. In the midst of it, they hear singing from the sea and find a mysterious girl on a rock. The question remains, who is she, and can she help Noelle complete the mission? Julius dreams of joining the mission but is stuck with paperwork. At the beach, Asta and Noelle meet the singer, Kaho No, who heals Asta's arm and quickly befriends them. Learning that Noelle must control her magic before the full moon, Kaho No gives her the final piece of advice: focus on happy memories. The suggestion dredges up trauma from her family, but Noelle persists, training all week with Asta by her side. On the final night, she finally finds her confidence. She channels her power steadily, collapses from exhaustion into Asta's arms, and when she looks for Kaho No to celebrate, only hears her friend's voice promising they'll meet again in the temple. The full moon arrives. Noelle creates an aquatic sphere to transport the entire squad through the Grand Magic Zone. The currents nearly tear them apart, but they make it through and find the underwater temple protected by a barrier, which Asta rips open with his anti-magic. The high priest, Jifso, greets the Black Bulls, reveals he knows about the magic stone, and proposes a game, a battle royale for the prize. Everyone is teleported to different locations and begins facing the temple's warriors alone. Asta crosses swords with the dancer Kyoto. Noelle comes face to face with Kaho No. Gulch, Magna, Luck, and Vanessa also begin their fights. The prize is simple: be the last one standing. Watching alongside Jifso, Yami bets on his brats, and he's right. Magna, Luck, Gulch, and Asta dispatch their first opponents with ease. Asta gets fired up against Kyoto, and Noelle tests her new control against Kaho No. When Magna and Luck face Gio, a temple warrior, the tide turns. A magical whale smashes through the area, heralding an invasion by the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Veto arrives, crushing the competition and interrupting the game. From the sidelines, Yami grinds his teeth, trapped by spatial magic as a real battle engulfs the temple. Veto obliterates Gio and takes down Magna and Luck in seconds. Yami tries to break out but remains sealed, and Veto taunts him, sensing the captain's presence from afar. To keep their spirits up, Jifso changes the rule. Whoever defeats Veto gets a wish granted. Asta and Kyoto pause their duel and rush to the front lines. Though staggering, Magna and Luck get back up, acknowledge their partnership, and launch a makeshift joint attack, determined to create an opening for their allies, because if they can't break through that wall, the entire temple will fall.
Flame lightning exploding cannon!
Magna and Luck's combo attack fails, and Veto moves to finish them off when Asta intercepts the blow. The protagonist manages to slash the enemy's stomach, but it barely phases him. Elsewhere, Gulch defeats a chain mage with a mirror trick, tries to rescue Charmy, and ends up trapped in vines with Gray, until they wake the glutton by stealing her food and turn the tables. Back in the arena, Veto crushes Asta's arm. Noelle and Kaho No arrive just in time to see the hero get thrown aside. The main fight now has an audience and a sense of urgency. Either the Black Bulls come up with a plan, or Veto will wipe them all out. Fueled by their dreams, Kaho No and Kyoto rise again and perform a deadly song and dance combo that finally lands a hit on Veto, but just barely. The villain tears off Kyoto's foot and then injures Kaho No's throat, silencing her voice. Faced with such cruelty, Noelle freezes until she hears her friend's voice in her head, telling her to believe in herself. The Silva Princess explodes with power, takes control, and unleashes the Sea Dragon's roar, ripping off Veto's left arm and blasting him away.
Sea Dragon's roar!
The hope is short-lived. His third eye opens, his arm regenerates with forbidden magic, and his counterattack rains down on Noelle, saved at the last second by Asta, who shields her with anti-magic. A terrifying key floods the temple. Vanessa ends her own fight with threads that turn her opponent's haste into a trap, recharges her mana, and heads to where she's needed most. Finrel hesitates to flee, but Asta's relentless spirit makes him ashamed to give up. With Vanessa's threads and Finrel's portals, Asta becomes an unpredictable projectile who finally lands a real cut on Veto, a wound that doesn't regenerate.
Now watch! I will defeat you!
Vanessa pulls the injured to safety and returns to the trio. From there, the tactic is simple and bold. Mobility, precision, and successive cuts until the enemy's despair is broken. Veto learns their pattern and injures Asta, but the trio doubles down. Flashbacks remind Vanessa of the cage that once imprisoned her and Finrel of being labeled a coward, and both resolve not to fail the one who believed in them. The cavalry arrives with renewed mana. Ghost draws attention with reflections. Charmy refuels the team, and Gray multiplies Asta to create confusion. In the calculated chaos, the real Asta breaks through the defense and drives his sword into the villain's chest. For the first time, Veto staggers from a blow his regeneration can't erase. It seemed like the end, but Veto reveals his trap. Using his own body as a sheath, he yanks Asta's sword away and tries to disarm him for good. With a broken arm, Asta nearly falls, until Vanessa wraps the limb with her threads, allowing one more round. The villain looks at the boy and glimpses the demon behind the stubbornness that devours despair. Asta attacks again, slash after slash, until he brings him down, only for Veto to reignite in a burst of magic. That's when Yami, having broken the spatial seal through sheer force, enters the fray with a newly created spell, a slash that cuts through dimensions and finishes Veto in a single strike.
Goodbye, Mr. Despair.
With Veto defeated, Yami feigns normalcy as the temple breathes a sigh of relief. Jifso offers a wish. Yami asks for the magic stone, but it's Nero who delivers it, landing on Asta as if he owned the place. Elsewhere, the Eye of the Midnight Sun vows retaliation. In the temple, the Black Bulls rest. Noelle visits Kaho Noel and Kiato, apologizing for not protecting them, and is told her power was magnificent. The two seal a promise for a future where Kaho Noel will sing again. As they depart, her friend's injured voice still finds a way to grace their goodbye, while the Black Bulls leave the sea with the stone, a hard-won victory, and the certainty that they surpass their limits together. The Black Bulls are celebrating their victory when they realize they left poor Gordon in the corner. Soon after, Yami drags Asta, Charmy, and Finrel to the capital to report to the Wizard King. Julius praises Yami, saying he's become a respectable captain, but the meeting is interrupted by a red alert. The town of Kyton is under attack by the Diamond Kingdom, led by 3 of the 8 Shining Generals. The town's magic barrier falls, and all seems lost, until the Golden Dawn arrives with the perfect timing of an action hero. Yuno, more OP than ever, defeats one general with absurd ease, and his wind spirit Sylph finally appears.
Wind magic.
Tornado Fang!
Look at you, Mr. Show-Off!
Leaving the Wizard King thrilled by the boy's magic. Meanwhile, Charmy only has eyes for one thing, her Prince of Munchies, Yuno himself. Seeing the battle raging, Yami decides to head to the front lines with Asta and Charmy, ignoring the fact that the kid's arms are still broken. From a distance, William and Longris watch, ready to act as the Clover forces advance to turn the tide. Yami yanks Finrel away from his flirting and forces him to open a portal to Kyten, where chaos reigns. On the battlefield, Yuno is fighting 2 generals at once, who are arguing over who gets to fight him, while Longris takes out a 3rd general without breaking a sweat. Then William makes a surprising move, the magic tree Misteltine, a colossal tree whose roots imprison the entire enemy army. The sight is so impressive that Asta, Charmy, and Finrel, who have just arrived, are left speechless. Yuno defeats Ragus with a single clean strike and renews his rivalry with Asta. Another general tries to attack William from behind but is restrained by another tree. Lotus, a Diamond Kingdom veteran, appears for an ambush, but Yami intercepts him, forcing the man to retreat. Alone with William, Yami's instincts flare up. He corners the captain and gets straight to the point. He demands he remove his mask, convinced that beneath it lies the face of Lich. Asta and Yuno finally reunite, but the peace is short-lived. Sylph gets jealous and starts a fight with Charmy. To sour the mood even further, Longris shows up and begins humiliating his own brother, Finrel. Asta, as always, stands up for his friend, but the argument is cut short short by a slime monster that appears with civilians trapped inside. Longris simply ignores the hostages, but Asta cooks up a plan worthy of the Avengers. Charmy creates a sheep trampoline. Finrel teleports him at the perfect moment, and Asta slices the creature, saving everyone. To top it off, Yuno uses his wind magic to ensure the civilians have a soft landing. Up above, the tension between Yami and William explodes. The mask comes off, but it doesn't reveal Lich's face. In its place is a massive scar. William tells his story as a bastard son and how Julius took him in, giving him the mask to live without prejudice. Yami realizes his mistake and apologizes. In the end, Yuno faces Asta and reaffirms he is his only rival and will be the next Wizard King. Yami takes Asta to see Dr. Owen, and the consultation brings the worst possible news. An ancient curse has shattered the bones in Asta's arms. The diagnosis is brutal. He will never be able to use them again. Back at the base, the celebratory mood from finally climbing out of the negatives turns into a funeral when the truth is revealed. Asta, however, refuses to give up. He goes outside and screams to the heavens that he will find a cure no matter what. The next day, Asta wakes up to find the base completely empty. But it's not because he's been abandoned. It's the exact opposite. Everyone has gone on secret missions to find a way to heal him. Magna and Luck to a dungeon, Gauche and Gordon to the library, and Charmy and Gray in search of rare ingredients. Deeply moved, Asta listens as Noelle and Finrel tell him it's their turn to protect him, and the boy breaks down, crying with gratitude. The pair's journey leads them to a remote cabin, where they come face to face with a completely naked man. In a lengthy flashback, we discover the story behind the naked man. Asta knows him as Fonzel, a swordsman who was running from a wild boar, and ends up becoming his master, teaching him how to fight better. Soon after, Mariella, one of Fonzel's students, appears looking for Domina, his fiancée. She reveals the couple fled the Diamond Kingdom, but it was all a trap. Mariella was a double agent and betrays her master. Wounded and hopeless, Fonzel is motivated by Asta's words and fights back. Suddenly, Mariella orders her troops to withdraw, implying that deep down, she was trying to help Fonzel escape. With renewed hope, Fonzel decides to search for Domina, believing she's still alive. The episode closes comically, with him running naked from another boar, as Asta continues on his way, leaving a future reunion and debts to be paid hanging in the air. Back in the present, Noelle attacks a naked intruder gathering herbs near the cabin. It's Fonzel! Asta recognizes him, and he reveals that Noelle's wand was made by Domina, his fiancée. Vanessa offers to help find her using Finrel's portals. Suddenly, the Black Bull's base is invaded by assassins from the Diamond Kingdom. Luck, Magna, and Gauche hold the line, while Gray uses her magic to disguise herself as Fonzel and trick the enemy leader. Meanwhile, the real Fonzel is finally reunited with Domina at the black market, and she greets him with a punch followed by a hug. Mariella also appears, saying she switched sides after hearing Asta's words. The peace is short-lived. The assassin's leader teleports Asta, Fonzel, and Mariella to a red room filled with soldiers. Fortunately, they're able to defeat him with ease. At the same time, Noelle and Finrel, desperate for a cure, hear from Domina about the Witch's Forest, the same place Vanessa just left for. Domina explains what the Witch's Forest is, an isolated territory filled with witches who specialize in curses, ruled by a queen feared by all. It becomes clear that both Vanessa and Domina are fugitives from there. Despite the risks, Noelle insists on going. If there's even a single chance to heal Asta, they have to take it. The group then kidnaps Asta and flies to the forest using invisibility cloaks.
Long time no see, Asta.
Whoa, it's Old Man Zelf!
Hold on! Where the heck are you taking me?
Finrel nearly blows their cover when he gets excited about the love potions for sale. They are discovered by security golems but manage to reach the palace, where they find the Witch Queen educating Vanessa on the house rules. Asta, acting on instinct, attacks but is quickly restrained by birds of blood magic. It's then that the queen reveals the deal. Vanessa offered herself as a slave in exchange for a cure for Asta's arms. Before the tension can escalate, the queen senses intruders. The Eye of the Midnight Sun, led by Fauna, is advancing on the forest. The Witch Queen uses her crystal orbs to watch the chaos from her throne. On one side, the Eye of the Midnight Sun with Fauna and her magic stone. On the other, the Diamond Kingdom with Mars and Ladros, who intend to kidnap the queen herself. Desperate, Asta tries to heal himself with his sword, only to injure himself further. Noelle then proposes a deal to the queen. They will defend the forest, and in return, she will heal Asta's arms. The queen accepts. She uses her blood magic, completely restoring and even tuning up the boys' arms, making them stronger. The battle begins in earnest. Fonzel and his allies hold off the Diamond forces, while Asta, Vanessa, and Finrel charge toward Fauna and her fire spirit Salamander. In a dance of dodges guided by Vanessa's threads and aerial advances, Asta manages to bat the fire right back at Fauna, promising to return everything she throws at him. Fauna unleashes Salamander's full power by activating a third eye, but Vanessa acts fast, using her threads to pull the trio like puppets and escape the infernal heat. Noelle decides she's done playing defense and enters the fray. She creates her most powerful spell, the Sea Dragon's Cradle, to evacuate her allies and, overcoming her brother's demeaning voice in her head, unleashes the Sea Dragon's roar. The attack snakes through the forest, circles its target, and bites down hard on Salamander, detonating the fire spirit. To finish it off, Asta, Finrel, and Vanessa execute a perfect combo throw. Asta misses the first strike, but Finrel instantly teleports him back, allowing him to pierce Salamander with his bull thrust attack and take Fauna down.
You're not killing anybody, you hear me? Full thrust!
As she falls, the only thing she can think of is Lich, showing that the past that made her who she is has yet to be resolved. As the Witch Queen watches, the Diamond Kingdom's army advances. Ladros, now a human battery who absorbs and fires magic, laughs at Fonzel's efforts and demolishes the forest with his million laser. When he threatens to kill Domina, Mars appears and saves her, showing he learned something from his former master. Mariella ambushes the soldiers. Domina activates her defense golems, and Fonzel tries to reason with Ladros, who is thrilled at the chance to legally kill his ex-comrade. Mars and Fonzel devise a risky plan. Either they overload Ladros with magic until he explodes, or they lead him to the one thing that can stop him, Asta's anti-magic. Reinforcing their bodies, they push the villain deeper into the forest toward the Black Bull's battlefield, unaware that, on the other side, Fauna is preparing to self-destruct and take everyone with her. Fonzel and Mars arrive at Asta's battlefield at the exact moment Fauna launches a gigantic fireball. In a magical trick shot, Asta reflects the attack to Fonzel, who redirects it straight into Ladros, knocking him out. Upon seeing Fauna, Mars remembers his traumatic past, children forced to fight to the death, and her plea for him to see the world for both of them. With Fauna controlled by the third eye and a self-destruct spell active, Asta gives Mars a reality check. The only way to save her is to keep her alive. Protected by a cloak of flames, Asta uses his sword to sever the magic controlling her. Instead of attacking, Mars embraces her tightly. The spell breaks, her true memories return, the third eye vanishes, and Fauna, finally free, promises to see the world by his side. The scene is so moving it could make even the toughest person shed a tear. A grateful Fauna explains her story. Morris, a Diamond Kingdom scientist, used her as a test subject, implanted a magic stone in her, and discarded her. That's when Lich found her and reincarnated an elf spirit into her body. The only thing she remembered was an uncontrollable desire for a magic stone, just like the one in the witch's forest. Before they can negotiate with the queen, Ladros reappears, fully recharged with magic. He mocks Asta and even tries to recruit him, revealing his true goal is to steal his anti-magic. Asta repels him with the Demon Dweller sword, draining his energy, but Ladros plays dirty. He takes Fauna hostage and absorbs Salamander's power, transforming into a living fire cannon. From a distance, the queen activates her master plan. With her blood magic, she forces the anti-magic to overflow through Asta's body. With no mana to resist, his right arm becomes the perfect conduit for a dark power. Black mode was about to be born. Inside a dark void, Asta comes face to face with the anti-magic devil, who offers to take over his body in exchange for victory. The kid, stubborn as ever, rejects the offer and awakens on the battlefield with his right arm consumed by black energy and a bat-like wing on his back. Now faster and more precise, he tears through Ladros' lasers as if they were nothing and cuts him down without mercy.
Magic is never giving up!
Damn! He's not messing around!
The queen explains that she merely removed the limits on Asta's body, allowing the anti-magic to flow freely. Ladros tries to flee, but Asta catches him and ends the fight with his black meteorite attack. Instead of killing him, however, Asta spares him and holds him accountable for his actions. Exhausted, he collapses. It's then that the queen reveals her true, terrible plan. Using her blood magic, she ensnares everyone and takes control of the newly healed Asta's mind, ordering her new puppet to kill his own friends. Under the Witch Queen's mind control, control, Asta becomes a murderous puppet and attacks Noel. The Black Bulls scream, trying to bring him back, and for a second he hesitates, proof that the real Asta is still in there, fighting. In desperation, Vanessa humbles herself, begging the queen to stop, and then comes the bombshell. They are mother and daughter. The queen locked her own child in a cage for years just to awaken a power that could control fate. A plot twist worthy of a primetime soap opera. We flash back to the past, when Yami invaded the forest, scoffed at the idea of fate, and ignited in Vanessa the will to escape and find a real family. That bond becomes the key in the present. Her power awakens in the form of a cat made of red thread, the red thread of fate, basically a cheat code for reality. Asta attacks, but the cat edits the outcome. His blows are deflected, miss their target, and even turn back on him, breaking the blood spell. Furious, the queen tries to control Vanessa herself, but the cat leaps in front and nullifies the mother's magic. Vanessa then makes it clear, her family is the Black Bulls. With luck on their side, the queen's game was over. Defeated by her daughter, the queen has a moment of clarity. She remembers the little girl who just wanted to weave smiles with magic and realizes the error of trying to force perfection. She surrenders, frees Vanessa, and uses blood magic to heal everyone. Then comes a flood of lore. The queen spills the beans about the magic stones. She rips off her own earring, the very stone the Eye of the Midnight Sun was after, and explains that they shine brightest in the hands of elves. She speaks of an ancient massacre, suggesting the cult members are their descendants, and she reveals that Fauna's third eye is forbidden magic. But the biggest revelation is for Asta. His two swords are relics of the elf leader.
The two weapons you carry are all that remain of the pair of magic swords once wielded by the leader of the elf tribe.
It's so much information that the kid's brain blue screens and he passes out. Meanwhile, in the Diamond Kingdom, Mars and Ladros are planning a coup d'etat. Back at the base, the Black Bulls return from their own journeys, dressed in ridiculous outfits, and find Asta with his arms fully healed. With a full table and a happy captain, Yami declares, "Today we party." It's the day of the Star Awards Festival, the annual squad ranking. The Black Bulls, used to being in last place, brace themselves for humiliation. In the middle of the festivities, Noel tries to keep Asta from starting trouble, and they run into Kaho no and Kiyoto. The vibe is heavy, one without a leg to dance, the other without a voice to sing. That is until Asta whips out a vial from the Witch Queen, and with just a few drops, Kiyoto's leg and Kaho no's voice are restored. The square goes wild. Kaho no, getting bold, turns the hangout into a double date. The outing is filled with games, jealousy, and laughter, right up until they enter a haunted house and start beating up the actors thinking they're real monsters. After getting kicked out, they help a lost little girl, and Noel takes on the posture of a protective noble. In a moment of sincerity, Asta tells her he likes her. Noel turns redder than a tomato, freaks out, and launches him into the air with a jet of water. He lands right in the middle of a tense stare-down between Yami and Jack, setting the stage for the ceremony. In the crowded halls of the event, Charlotte immobilizes an annoying noble with thorns. Soon after, Vanessa appears, senses a rivalry over Yami, and challenges Charlotte. To avoid a brawl, Finrel diffuses the situation by turning it into a contest. There's a costume show, charm duels, and finally, a drinking contest. The problem? Charlotte has zero tolerance for alcohol. One sip and she's already drunk, remembering the day her curse spiraled out of control and Yami saved her. He praised strong women, and that's when she fell for him, which, ironically, broke the spell. Back in the present, Yami takes her glass, drinks the rest, and tells her not to push herself. To Charlotte, this is an indirect kiss, and she passes out on the spot. The contest ends in a draw, and Yami is left standing there with two unconscious captains in his arms, right as the award ceremony is about to begin. The rom-com is over. Now things get serious. Julius Novachrono takes the stage, promising transparency. He announces the new captains. Mario Leona Vermilion takes over the Crimson Lions, and Kaiser, the Purple Orcas. Then comes the ranking, and it's a total shakeup. The Golden Dawn is in first place with 125 stars, and, shattering all expectations, the Black Bulls are in second place with 101 stars. An absurd leap after a year in the negative. The nobles boo, but Yuno shuts them all up with a display of power, which Asta promptly cuts through with his anti-magic. The silence is deafening. The king tries to steal the spotlight, announcing the creation of the Royal Knights to attack the Eye of the Midnight Sun's base, an idea from Julius that he claimed as his own. In the middle of his ego trip, he even threatens Asta and Yuno. In the end, Mereoleona gives her squad an epic scolding for placing 5th. Either they get better, or she'll burn them all to a crisp. Mereoleona has no patience to wait. She goes hunting for Asta, Yuno, Noelle, Yami, and Charlotte throughout the festival and kidnaps them for intensive training. The destination? An active volcano, a grand magic zone where the intense heat alone is an enemy. The rule is simple: reach the summit before sunset. Yami and Charlotte activate their mana skin and forge a path, but Noelle struggles to control her magic. Mereoleona, remembering Noelle's mother, the legendary Asier, gives her some tough love. Talent is nothing without effort. Bringing up the rear, Asta faces an existential problem. His swords nullify magic, but they do nothing against the raw heat of nature. Then give up, Mereoleona taunts, but Asta sets his jaw. Without magic, there's no excuse. Every step is a test of pure willpower, the kind of trial that separates true knights from tourists. Asta attempts a risky shortcut, forcing his transformation into Black Asta mode. He tries to focus, mimicking Yami's key training, and finally manages to feel the flow of anti-magic. He unleashes the power, but loses control and becomes a human rocket, drawn directly to Mereoleona's overwhelming mana. He screams for her to get out of the way. She doesn't even flinch and knocks him down with a single flaming punch. At the summit, their reward for the ordeal: hot springs. The awkwardness is immediate, and Sol raises an earth wall to separate the men from the women. On their side, Mereoleona offers drinks and challenges Noelle to surpass her mother's legend. On the other side, Yami tries to organize a spy mission, but Asta shoots that down, saying his heart belongs to Sister Lily and acting as the group's moral compass. The training was brutal, but at least it ended with a few laughs. On the way to the Royal Knight selection exam, the vice captain of the Purple Orcas is attacked by a stranger who steals his robe. Shortly after, at the arena, Asta meets up with the gang, trades his usual barbs with Yuno, and bumps into a snarky guy named Xerx, who mistreats everyone. Julius and the king explain the rules: a 3-on-3 tournament, capture the flag style. Each team must protect their crystal while trying to destroy their opponents. It's a massive dry run for the attack on the Eye of the Midnight Sun. The teams are chosen by lottery, and Asta gets paired with Mimosa and the fake Xerx, who introduces himself by releasing stinking insects and making it clear he's not there to make friends. To make matters worse, Noelle is drawn into a bracket against her abusive brother, Solid. The first match announced is none other than Asta's team. The exam has barely begun and it already feels like a war of nerves. A pair of enemies combines rock and fire magic in a ranged attack, while the third member spies on everything with crystal magic. Asta defends with his sword, Mimosa scans the field with plants, and Xerx lies down for a nap. Asta falls into a trap, leaving Mimosa vulnerable. As the three rivals close in on her, giant ash seals erupt from the ground. They were Xerx's sleeper traps. They absorb and redirect the attacks, knocking out the enemy trio in one go. The crystal is left wide open, and the victory is easy.
Just kidding, loser.
The imposter scoffs, explains nothing, and sums up his combat philosophy. To deceive your enemy, you must first deceive your allies. A brilliant and completely insane strategist. The tournament bracket moves on, and the next fight features Kirsch Vermillion, a narcissist whose vanity promises to be the main event. Kirsch Vermillion enters the field, and his main strategy is to show off his own beauty. Magna and Saul can't stand the guy, but mid-fight, he starts coaching them, teaching them to read mana flow and trade brute force for more elegant tactics. And the worst part is, it works. Magna manages to escape a trap, Saul clears a path with her golems, and Kirsch covers the enemy crystal with a storm of petals, blinding and confusing their opponents. The bizarre coordination results in a victory. Afterward, a quick montage shows other fights. Finrel uses his portals cleverly and wins with ease. His brother Longris also wins, but cruelly, humiliating his opponent with his spatial slashes. In the end, Longris provokes Finrel, promising to crush him in the next round. For the first time, Finrel doesn't back down. The exam has just turned into family drama. The fifth match begins with a missing member. The king threatens to disqualify the team until the mysterious masked X reveals himself. It's Rill, the captain of the Aquadeer, who infiltrated the exam just to have fun and test everyone. At first, he seems like a goofball, almost getting caught by plant magic, but a flashback shows he's always been a chaotic genius, and that his painting magic is on another level. Back in the fight, Rill begins to paint the battlefield, conjuring fire, ice, and whatever whatever else comes to mind. He dismantles the rival team on his own and lets his partners break the crystal as if he were signing a masterpiece. The victory sends a clear message. Even the captains are in on the game, and that's terrifying for anyone on the other side of the brush. Klaus and Luck kick off the next round with a victory so fast you can barely blink. They destroy the enemy crystal in seconds, but the main event of the night is something else. Yuno and Noelle versus Solid, Noelle's older brother. Memories of the bullying she endured come flooding back, but the present is different. When Solid's team attacks with full force, Noelle raises her sea dragon's lair, an impenetrable defense. Solid advances with his sea serpent, the same spell that terrified her as a child. This time, Noelle doesn't flinch. With the support of the black bulls in her mind, she unleashes a new spell, the sea dragon's roar. A gigantic water dragon swallows her brother's attack, sweeps across the battlefield, and shatters his crystal. The fight is over. Years of humiliation are ended with a steady gaze. The fragile girl is gone. The second round of the exam is like a giant escape room, but with fighting. We follow Team B, Asta, Mimosa, and Xerx, against Team C, led by Kirsch, the peacock of all peacocks, alongside Sol and our dear Magna. Kirsch starts his little show, covering the field in a storm of petals, but Asta, in full bulldozer mode, activates his black hurricane.
Give me more! Get ready!
And not only clears the storm, but also accidentally erases Xerx's own traps, a minor screw-up that forces the trio to think like a real team. They come up with a simple plan: lure Kirsch into a hallway, activate a trapdoor, and the guy falls for it like a schmuck. To finish him off, Asta gives him a shove with the flat side of his sword, and bam, one down on the enemy team. The path to a comeback is wide open. With Kirsch out of the fight, Team B's plan continues. Mimosa scans the battlefield and discovers that the enemy crystal is hidden inside Sol's Earth Golem. Then, she has a brilliant idea. She plants a tiny seed on the giant to basically hack the thing from the inside, but Sol is no fool and traps Mimosa with her vines, while Magna puts the pressure on Asta with some new fire tricks. Xerx, the master of traps, holds the line and buys Asta the time he needs to enter his demon mode and, just to be sure, mop the floor with Kirsch again. Meanwhile, Mimosa's seed turns into a botanical Trojan horse, takes control of the golem, and exposes the crystal. Asta doesn't waste a second, flies toward it, and shatters it. Victory for Team B, and best of all, even the stuck-up Kirsch admits that the commoners' fight was spectacular. Now the arena heats up with some family drama. Finrel versus Langris. On one side, the nice guy brother who just wanted to be accepted and found a family in the Black Bulls. On the other, the resentful prodigy from the Golden Dawn who looks down on everyone like they're insects. The fight is a frenzy of spatial magic. Finrel shows he's more than just the team's driver and with sharp technique takes Seikei out of the game. But Langris completely loses his cool. His magic becomes so destructive that it starts to endanger everyone, not just his opponents. A massive explosion decides the match for Langris's team, but even with victory secured, the guy isn't satisfied and tries to finish off his own brother, who is already down on the ground. This act lights a fire under the Black Bulls. Things are about to get ugly. Langris's execution attempt is stopped in its tracks. Asta, Magna, and Luck jump into the arena to protect Finrel.
Go on, take one more step toward him. But you should know that the second you do, you're dead.
And the chaos only ends when Julius himself appears and freezes everyone in time. With tempers slightly cooled, the semi-final is announced. Asta's Team B against Langris's Team G, but the Psycho doesn't even wait for the whistle and immediately goes on the attack. As Mimosa rushes to heal and Asta holds the line, we learn about Xerx's past. His father, Zara, was the first commoner to become a magic knight, but he was betrayed and killed by the very nobles he protected. Because of this, Zora swore to hunt down and expose all corrupt magic knights. Back in the arena, he prepares a trap that could completely turn the tables. Langris's outburst was actually bait. The wizard King Julius's plan was precisely that, to provoke the eye of the Midnight Sun's mole into revealing himself. Asta trusts Zora's plan, who sets a trap to reflect Langris's spatial attack. The problem is, the guy's dark power is so overwhelming that it tears through the trap like paper. At the climax of the fight, Asta activates Black Asta, transforms into a comet with black meteorite, crosses the entire arena, and simply destroys both crystals at the same time. The result? A technical draw. Afterward, we see Rill win his match using his painting magic, and Yuno, merged with the Spirit of Wind, steamrolls his opponent. The stage is set. The grand final will be Rill versus Yuno. Yuno charges at Rill, who defends himself herself by painting monsters and barriers, while their teammates protect their respective crystals. Noelle creates a wall of water with her sea dragon's nest, and N uses his mushrooms to control the area. The main fight escalates to an absurd level. Yuno uses spirit assimilation and merges with Belle, basically becoming an avatar of the wind. Rill doesn't hold back and unleashes his ultimate power, but the magic is so potent that he loses control, and the attack ends up destroying his own crystal. Victory for Yuno's Team P. After the celebration, Julius calls Xerx for a chat. He reveals that he knew his father, Zara, and invites Xerx to officially join the Royal Knights, not in disguise, but as himself. The end of the tournament leaves a bitter taste for the Black Bulls. Asta gets into such a slump that not even Luck's fights or Vanessa's charms can cheer the kid up. Seeing the situation, Yami drags Asta outside and, to give him a reality check, tells him a story from his past. He recalls when he was still part of the Grey Deer Squad and fought alongside a mysterious man who used World Tree magic, none other than William. Together, they beat up some bandits, but the group's leader escaped through a portal. It was then that the rivalry between Yami and William was born, a competition that would push them until they became captains. During an ambush in Zokadani, two magic knights revealed themselves as traitors and captured Yami. William, who was already suspicious, reads the situation, intercepts the attack, and traps the entire gang with his roots. Julius arrives shortly after to finish the job. As a reward for their deeds, both are promoted to captain. Yami founds the Black Bulls, a haven for all the misfits and weirdos of the kingdom, while William creates the Golden Dawn as a tribute to Julius. Back in the present, the nostalgic mood is shattered when Mario Leona simply blows the base's door off its hinges. Mario Leona arrives making a scene. She tosses a bottle of sake to her brother Fuego Leon and, without asking, practically kidnaps Asta, Noelle, and Luck, announcing that they've been selected for the Royal Knights. During the official ceremony, the mysterious Xerx finally removes his mask and reveals himself as Zora, now an official member of the Black Bulls, at Yami's personal invitation. After receiving their robes, the Lioness-in-Chief takes the floor and gets straight to the point. Their mission is a direct invasion of the Eye of the Midnight Sun's hideout. Meanwhile, on another plane, Raya has dreams that show the peaceful past of the elves, moments before the tragedy that changed everything, including the wedding of Lich and Tetia. Before heading into the fray, Asta and Noelle visit Fuego Leon, who is still in a coma, and promise to fight to honor the captain. At the Royal Knights' temporary base, the tension is thick. Mario Leona, driven by her predator's instinct, sniffs out a spy posing as a member of the Golden Dawn, and Nozel captures him. With the infiltrator out of the picture, the invasion plan is accelerated. They use magic to create a 3D map of the hideout and divide the troops into 5 teams. Nozel Silva leads one flank, Rill the other. Yuno and Mimosa enter from one side of the base, Noelle and Luck from the other, and the Suicide Squad, the one that will kick in the front door, is comprised of none other than Mario Leona, Asta, and Zora. It's going to be chaos. The invasion of the Eye of the Midnight Sun's lair begins on all fronts, with the main trio of Mario Leona, Asta, and Zora simply blasting their way through the main entrance.
Make no mistake, your leader's head will be mine!
I feel like she doesn't even need our help!
But the enemy also knows how to play dirty. Far away, the Black Bull's base is attacked by a trio of crazies, Raids, Sally, and Valtos. With Yami away, the defense of the house falls to Gauche, Gray, and Gordon. It's their chance to shine. Gray overcomes her shyness and evolves her transformation magic. Gordon stops whispering and starts dishing out poison without mercy, and Gauche uses his mirrors to multiply himself. But when the pressure becomes unbearable, the base itself reveals a secret. Someone has been living inside its walls this whole time. From the bowels of the base emerges Henry, the ghost, who was always rearranging the rooms. He suffers from a rare disease that drains the mana of anyone who gets too close, which is why Yami took him in, letting him live in isolation within the base. Now, to protect his home, Henry uses his magic and transforms the entire base into a giant stone robot, the Raging Black Bull. It's basically a Megazord fight. Sally attacks with her slime, Gray transmutes it, Gordon poisons everything, and the stone robot demolishes Rage's zombies. In the midst of the chaos, Valtos manages to steal a magic stone and flees with his team. Back at the enemy lair, Lich places the new stone on the monument and announces that from now on, he will retrieve the remaining ones himself. Inside the enemy hideout, the Royal Knights are wreaking havoc. Nozel Silva shows why he's a captain, turning liquid mercury into blades and shields. Kirsch, for his part, covers his path of advance with a sea of petals. On the main path, a second Asta appears, exposing the disguise of Raya, the copy mage. stage. He tries to copy anti-magic and fails miserably. Mario Leona, who understands mana flow like no one else, reads his every move. She nullifies his dark, light, water, and fire magic tricks and simply steamrolls Raya with a relentless barrage of blows. The lesson of the day is clear. No copy can ever match real power, forged through grit and training. While the Black Bulls clean up the mess at their base, Yami goes to find William. Atop the castle, the Wizard King Julius is already waiting for them. There, the truth comes out. William thanks Julius for everything and confesses that he shares his body with another soul. The mask and scar disappear, and the one who takes control is Lich, the leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. The most insane duel of all begins. Light magic, the fastest magic there is, against time magic, the most absolute. Julius is a monster. He pauses, accelerates, and even reverses time to heal his wounds, declaring that his duty is to create a future without prejudice. The fight seems to be turning in the Wizard King's favor, until Lich changes tactics and aims his attack at a new target. Lich plays dirty and summons the Arrows of Judgment, a spell powerful enough to wipe the Clover Kingdom's capital off the map. To save everyone, Julius is forced to use all the time he has accumulated for himself in the spell Chrono-Anastasis, reversing the attack and saving the city. But this sacrifice leaves him completely vulnerable. At the exact moment Yami arrives, Lich pierces Julius's chest with a blade of light. Yami watches, helpless, as the Wizard King falls. The price for protecting the future is paid with the life of the kingdom's strongest man, and the shadow of the elves' past returns to haunt Clover with full force. With the Wizard King lying on the ground, Lich turns to Yami and drops a bombshell. William is just sleeping in here. Before Yami can do anything, Valtos appears with his spatial magic and teleports Lich away. In his final moments, Julius praises Yami, says the new generation is coming in strong, and that his dream will live on. Yami, in tears, gives a final salute as Julius's grimoire fades away. It is the end of the Wizard King. Far away at the Eye of the Midnight Sun's base, Mario Leona is still pummeling Raya. Just as he's about to self-destruct to take her with him, Asta jumps in front, in classic protagonist fashion with a talk no jutsu. He punches Raya and yells at him not to throw his life away, saying they're all human and need to talk to understand each other. Mario Leona thinks the idea is ridiculous, but Asta's speech gets to Raya, who remembers someone from his past who thought the same way. Meanwhile, Lich arrives at his destination, a stone altar. He inserts the last magic stones he stole from Julius. His followers, Raids, Sally, and Valtos, celebrate, thinking they'll finally get their power back. But then comes the cruelest plot twist of the season. Lich looks at them with disgust and calls them all disgusting, distorted beings. He reveals they are not his comrades, but sacrifices for the resurrection of the elves. The altar glows, Raya begins to transform into a true elf, and on the other side of the kingdom, Yuno also starts to glow mysteriously. Things just got serious. Time for a history lesson. We go back in time to meet the elf tribe. The original Lich was a super nice guy who believed in friendship between elves and humans. He was friends with Tetia and her brother, a human who also had a 4-leaf clover grimoire. Young Patoli, an elf who idolized Lich, didn't quite trust this whole friendship with humans thing. Lich and Tetia's relationship gets serious. They fall in love and she becomes pregnant. It all seemed like a fairy tale. During their wedding ceremony, with everyone celebrating the union of the two peoples, tragedy strikes. A rain of light magic attacks the elves, massacring everyone. It's basically the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones, anime style. Patoli, before being hit, sees that the magic belongs to Tetia's brother and swears vengeance against humanity. The last thing he sees is Lich, holding Tetia in his arms, preparing a massive spell. Patoli awakens to find he hasn't died, but is in the body of a human who looks just like Lich. He understands that the original Lich used forbidden reincarnation magic to save the elves' souls. From that point on, Patoli, now calling himself Lich, receives a light magic grimoire and begins his plan for revenge.
It's the humans! They're attacking us!
I swear
they will all be annihilated.
He revives Raya, Veto, and Fauna in human bodies and manipulates them to obtain the magic stones. Back in the present, he faces his followers, Raids, Sally, and Valtos, as their souls are drained as a sacrifice. He confirms with chilling coldness that they were just pawns in his game, disposable tools to bring back his true companions. At the Eye of the Midnight Sun's base, Rill is restraining the terrorists with his painting magic, but suddenly they start dropping dead, like a mass heart attack. Only Raya survives, leaving everyone everyone confused. Out of nowhere, a strange light begins to shine across the Clover Kingdom, and at the Black Bull's hideout, Gauche also starts to glow, much to Gordon and Gray's horror. Turns out, he's not the only one. Multiple people throughout the kingdom, including Royal Knights members like Klaus and Yuno, start to glow and change their appearance. Raya, with a villainous smirk, announces that the age of humans is over. It's basically a mass possession, like the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but with pointy ears and magic. The elves have been revived in human bodies and are ready for revenge. Meanwhile, Yami senses a surge of powerful ki and comes face to face with Marks and Owen, who have also been possessed. They attack without mercy, but Yami, cool as ever, protects Julius's body and knocks them both out with absurd ease. He even remarks that they've gotten incredibly strong, despite not being combat mages. Then, to make matters worse, Charlotte shows up, also possessed. Yami calls her the Prickly Thorn Queen, and the two begin to clash. The elf inside her has awakened the true power of Briar magic. A battered Saul appears, trying to help, but the elf doesn't even recognize her. Yami tells Saul to flee with Julius's body and prepares for a serious fight. He and the elf Charlotte ready their strongest attacks against each other, and to top it all off, down in the dungeon, luck also begins to glow. Things have gone from bad to worse. The clash between Yami and elf Charlotte is so intense that the surrounding buildings collapse on top of him. The elf uses the chaos to grab the unconscious Marks and Owen and escapes. But who said a falling building could stop Yami? He emerges from the rubble as if nothing happened, ready for more. Meanwhile, in the prison, the destruction frees two forgotten villains, Gueldre and Revchi. They start arguing but soon unite over their shared hatred for Asta. A possessed elf appears to attack, but the ex-villain duo manages to trap him. In another part of the chaos, Luck, now possessed, is in overdrive. He attacks Noelle with incredible speed and pierces through her defense like it was paper. The guy, who is already hyper, has now become an electric nightmare. In the other dungeon, Mario, Leona, Asta, and Zora are facing Raya, who has become a magic hacker, mixing powers to dodge every blow. To complete the party, Rill, also possessed, arrives flying on a four-headed ink dragon. Asta tries to use his anti-magic, but it doesn't work to break the possession. Seeing more elves arriving, Zora suggests a strategic retreat, but Mario Leona has other plans. She throws Asta and Zora out of the room, seals the wall, and prepares for a 1-on-5 showdown. The woman is an absolute legend, and far away, at the Crimson Lion's base, the hand of Fuego Leon, who was in a coma, twitches. The man is coming back. At the Crimson Lion's base, Vice Captain Randall, possessed by an elf, is tearing through his own squad. He scoffs at the human's weakness as the knights beg him to stop. Amid the chaos, Leopold Vermilion steps up. He knows he's at a disadvantage, but he doesn't give up, and his courage inspires the rest of the team. Leopold starts fighting the elf, and despite taking a beating, he adapts quickly, learning to read the enemy's mana mid-fight. A few squad members sacrifice themselves to buy time, but Leopold is already at his limit. Just as the elf is about to deliver the final blow, an overwhelming fire mana fills the room. It's Fuegoleon Vermilion. He's on his feet, with an arm made of flames and salamander, the spirit of fire by his side. The captain is back, and he's back with a vengeance. The fight becomes a walk in the park. Fuegoleon completely dominates the elf, who can barely breathe near Salamander's flames. He restrains the guy and wins the fight, leaving Leopold speechless and more determined than ever to surpass his brother. Fuegoleon then learns that his sister, Mario Leona, took his post and remembers the attack by William that put him in a coma. Meanwhile, at the Golden Dawn's headquarters, the Elf Condo meeting is in full swing. Several members have been possessed, including Longris, and they're eager to start hunting humans. To cap it off, Yami wakes Finrel up with a kick, telling him about the situation. Finrel senses his brother's sinister energy and decides that this time, he won't run. He's going to save Longris. Raya starts mocking Mario Leona, saying she has no chance against 5 elves, but she's unfazed, and replies that her companions would only get in the way, and that she can handle it herself. The elves' plan is simple: take out Mario Leona, and then go after Asta, since his swords and grimoire belong to the original Lich. The fight begins, and it's pure insanity. Mario Leona goes all out, but soon realizes her senses are dulling. It's the fault of an elf using a snow magic that puts everyone to sleep, like an area of effect sedative. The elves seize the opportunity and trap her with sand magic. They think they've won, but Mario Leona simply shatters the trap and keeps fighting, even after taking a nasty slash from Rhea. The woman is a monster. Realizing she can't win with brute force, she decides to use her ultimate move and unleashes all her mana at once, turning the entire room into a purgatory of blue flames. The elves survive but are badly beaten. Impressed, they prepare to deliver the finishing blow to Leona, who is unconscious but still on her feet. But suddenly, Asta and Zora burst into the room. They had a plan. Zora uses his trap magic to capture the elves' combined attack and reflects it to Asta, who bats it back to Zora with his sword. After a round of magical ping-pong, the attack returns, quadrupled right into the elves' faces. They rescue Leona and try to flee, but Raya emerges from a portal, grabs Asta, and drags him away. Asta is thrown into Lich's chamber, where Mimosa is trapped. And to end the episode with a bang, he sees that even his rival, Yuno, has been possessed by an elf. The situation has become dire. In the boss chamber, the elves possessing Klaus and Heyman charge at Asta, who tries to appeal to their emotions, saying they are comrades. Klaus's body even reacts, but the elf in control becomes furious and attacks again, managing to wound Asta. Even on his knees, Asta screams that he will survive and become the Wizard King. This phrase acts as a trigger for Yuno, who remembers his childhood and manages to break free from the elf's control, shouting that he is the one who will become the Wizard King. The dynamic duo is back. Raya, who was watching everything, is shocked. Klaus and Heyman decide to go all out, but Yuno and Asta are on another level. Yuno activates Spirit Dive and Asta enters his Black Asta form. Together they defeat the two elves in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, the true boss, Lich, finally makes his move. He takes the magic swords and things get serious. Lich is absurdly fast and powerful. He simply takes back the swords Asta was holding and goes on the offensive, giving the two protagonists a severe beatdown. He throws Asta against a wall and then into a pool, causing him to lose his transformation. While Yuno tries to hold Lich off in the air, Asta, at rock bottom, decides he will surpass his limits right here and now. He reactivates his Black Asta form, flies up at Lich, and joins Yuno. The two rivals attack together with everything they've got. Lich blocks the attack, but one of the swords is sent flying, and Asta catches it mid-air. In response, Lich unleashes a massive energy blast, destroying the entire area and sending Asta, Yuno, and Mimosa to the bottom of the dungeon. After that insane explosion, Asta, Yuno, and Mimosa barely survive, saved by Yuno's wind magic. Meanwhile, the elves regroup and their hideout, now a flying fortress, heads towards the royal capital. The mission is clear: destroy everything. Asta's group meets up with Nozel and other royal knights. Nozel uses a magical item like a luxury first aid kit to heal everyone. Suddenly, he receives a call informing him that the capital is under attack. His order is cold. If necessary, they will have to kill their possessed comrades. Noel protests, saying they can be saved, just like Yuno was. As the flying fortress passes over Hodge village, an elf descends to spread chaos, attacking the villagers with poison. Sister Lily tries to fight back, but it's useless. Asta's group notices the attack, and Asta and Yuno immediately recognize their hometown. They want to go help. Nozel, with his overbearing big brother vibe, says the capital is the priority, but eventually relents, telling them to be quick. In Hodge, Little Mash, remembering Asta and Yuno's words, stands in front of Sister Lily to protect her from the elf's attack. And at that exact moment, Asta and Yuno arrive in true superhero fashion, blocking the blow as if it were nothing. Seeing Nash crying, they tell him he was brave and that from here on, they'll take over. Asta and Yuno are locked in a fierce battle against a member of the Purple Orcas, who is possessed and using a highly toxic poison plant magic. Meanwhile, Father Orsi, Sister Lily, and the children remember the letters the two used to send, recounting their adventures. It feels like a lifetime ago now. The fight gets personal when Asta sees that Father Orsi has been poisoned. He rushes to help, but the poison has already spread too far, and not even the Demon Slayer sword can nullify the spell. Time is running out, and desperation begins to set in. But just when all seems lost, Asta's grimoire begins to glow and, plot twist, a brand new sword simply sprouts from within it. It's like getting a legendary item from a loot box out of nowhere. Asta grabs the new sword, and an absurd wave of power washes over him. He receives a flash of memories and a massive surge of anti-magic. We don't know what this sword does yet, but it's clear the tables have completely turned. Asta is still processing the amount of power flowing from the new Demon Destroyer sword. He focuses and suddenly manages to master the blade. The result? The sword simply sucks all the poison out of the people of Hodge, like a magical vacuum cleaner that erases the cause and effect of the curse. Father Orsi wakes up instantly, completely cured, leaving the children speechless. Asta is thrilled, thinking this new ability could be the key to saving his friends who were turned into elves. While Asta is busy with his new toy, the possessed elf gets gets distracted, and Yuno seizes the opportunity to attack. The elf is confused. How was Yuno not affected by the reincarnation? And why is a magicless kid using Lich's sword? A flashback reveals that this elf was a kind man who just wanted to give flowers at Lich's wedding, but the massacre filled him with hatred. It's combo time. Yuno clears a path with his tornado, and Asta strikes the elf head-on with the Demon Destroyer sword, canceling the possession.
Made you a path, Asta. Now strike!
After snacking on some Tatos, the freed knight Digit explains that the elf's soul was pure. Asta and Yuno say goodbye to their home and leave with Digit. Along the way, they see two massive points of energy and decide to split up to handle things faster, agreeing to meet in the capital. The mission to save the kingdom is in full swing. As the elves' flying hideout passes over a town, Lufalu, the elf possessing Luck's body, descends to cause chaos. He has the time of his life, terrifying everyone with his lightning magic. Out of nowhere, Magna and Vanessa appear and are shocked to see their friend is the one behind the destruction. Lufalu couldn't care less and immediately attacks them. The fight begins. Lufalu's incredible speed versus Magna's explosions and Vanessa's pet cat, which is actually a spell that alters fate to save Magna from fatal attacks. Magna is incredibly stubborn, even blowing up his own hand just to land a hit on the enemy. He manages to pin Lufalu for a second, but the elf breaks free with even more power. His tactic becomes a cruel game, relentlessly attacking Magna to force Vanessa to exhaust her mana. The plan works, and soon both are on the ground, defeated, but just as Lufalu is about to finish Magna off, he starts to cry. It's Luck, fighting from within. Magna screams for his friend to come out. Lufalu gets angry and prepares a final attack, but Vanessa uses her last drop of power for a masterstroke. She pulls Asta, who was flying by, right out of the sky. Asta comes in hot, defends against the attack, and activates his Black Asta form. He explains that he can track Lufalu thanks to his hateful key and his sword. With movie-worthy teamwork, they manage to hit Lufalu, but when Asta tries to exorcise the elf, Lufalu recovers again, grabs Asta, and unleashes an insane amount of lightning while Magna and Vanessa hold on, refusing to give up on their friend. The elf threatens to blow everyone up and begins to transform into something sinister. Meanwhile, in Luck's mind, he finds his mother. She asks him to go with her, but then he hears the Black Bulls calling for him. Instantly, he chooses to return to his friends. It's an emotional flashback showing all his interactions with the squad. When the reincarnation magic finally breaks, Lufalu smiles and says he wishes he could have been friends with humans. Shortly after, Luck gets up, crying, and asks if they're still friends. Magna doesn't hesitate, giving him a huge hug and confirming that yes, they are. A truly tear-jerking moment. Back at their base, which is completely destroyed, they find Gordon, Gray, and Henry sitting among the rubble. After they share what happened with Gauche, Charmy shows up looking anything but friendly. But hold on, she's not possessed. She's just furious because someone destroyed her garden. The group blames the elves, and a calmer Charmy creates a chef sheep that cooks a meal that restores magic. Henry stays isolated so he doesn't drain anyone's mana, but Asta, ever the good guy, calls him over, saying they just have to eat more to compensate. With their energy restored, Henry uses his magic to rebuild the base, but not just any old way. He transforms it into a giant, charging bull. The Black Bulls hop in and set off to defend the kingdom in style. The Black Bulls are going full throttle, advancing on the royal capital in their mobile base, which looks like a giant, raging mechanical bull. Luck, now back to normal, senses the presence of 3 elves up ahead. The elves are causing major chaos in a small town. The local magic knights are already exhausted and at their wits' end. One of the elves prepares to use ice magic but suddenly notices something massive heading their way. They even try to create an earth wall to stop the threat, but it's no use. The raging Black Bull smashes through the wall like it's cardboard, switches to battle mode, and charges the elves. They try to attack the base, but Rouge, Vanessa's cat, deflects every spell. Henry then deploys cannons from the base, and Luck, Magna, and Gordon fire their attacks through them, their power completely amplified. The elves attempt a last resort with a compound magic spell, but before they can finish, Asta is launched from the base like a human missile, nullifies their magic, and knocks them all out. Afterward, he uses the Demon Destroyer sword to break the reincarnation. Meanwhile, in a flashback, we see William's story. He discovers he shares his body with Patri, the soul of an elf. After Patri defeats Julius, Longris, a guilt-ridden William, allows the elf to take full control. Back in the present, Raids, the guy Lich had defeated, comes back to life with evolved magic, seeking revenge. He resurrects Sally and Valtos. The trio appears right in front of Asta, and Raids offers to help him get revenge. Asta refuses, saying their goal is to protect the kingdom, not vengeance. To convince Sally, he offers himself as a test subject for her experiments. She, of course, accepts on the spot. The royal castle is being invaded by members of the Golden Dawn possessed by elves, including Longris. The situation is chaotic. Yami and Finrel are in the middle of a grim battle against them, and things only improve slightly when Jack the Ripper arrives to lend a hand, allowing them to turn the tables. After regrouping with Nozel and the others, the team enters the castle. The plan is simple: split up to protect as many people as possible in the Clover Kingdom. Everyone rushes off in different directions, and the tension is palpable. The conflict even reaches the Silva family home. An elf named Ki Vin has already invaded the premises and is mercilessly attacking Solid and Nebra. The two siblings are getting beaten badly. Just when things look hopeless, Nozel and Noel arrive to save the day and join the fight. However, Ki Vin, the invading elf, is no pushover. Her compass magic is completely overpowered and starts giving everyone a hard time, draining the Silva siblings' energy and patience. The fight is far from over. We cut to a flashback of Noel's mother's funeral. We see her entire childhood has been a living hell, with her siblings Solid and Nebra constantly mocking her for not being able to control her magic. They call her a failure and a disgrace to the family. To make matters worse, Nozel tells her she'll never join the Silver Eagles and sends her to the Black Bulls, the worst of the squads, just so everyone can laugh at her. Back in the present, Noel and Nozel are trapped by the elf Ki Vin's compass magic. Noel's initial attacks fail, but she remembers all her training and her desire to protect her family, even the siblings who mistreated her. So she decides to go all out and intentionally loses control, completely flooding the space they were trapped in. Ki Vin is forced to undo the spell to avoid drowning. As the water recedes, Noel awakens a new spell born from her suffering: water creation magic, Valkyrie armor, a full suit of armor made of water, complete with a lance.
Water creation magic! Valkyrie armor!
Nozel is in shock because the armor is identical to their mother's, the sea goddess. Noel displays incredible speed and control, practically flying as she surfs on mana currents. She bypasses all of Ki Vin's defenses, declaring that all the mana within her armor's range is under her control, and pierces through the compass shield, defeating the enemy. Right after their celebration, more possessed elves appear. One of them launches a fireball at the downed Solid, but the attack is reflected by a trap. Who should appear but Zora, out of nowhere? Nozel, though injured, uses his Mercury magic to strengthen himself and joins Noel and Zora to face the new threat. At the Vermilion Estate, Kirsch, Mimosa, and En are on a rescue mission. They combine their magic. Kirsch's cherry blossom magic creates a cloud for confusion. En's fungus magic messes with the enemy's senses, and Mimosa's plant magic maps the area to guide civilians. Their teamwork is interrupted by Beval, an elf who has taken over David's body. He sees through their disguise and reveals that the reincarnated elves are much stronger. He then drops a bombshell. A floating fortress is heading for the capital, and another elf is already there to take care of the king. Cut to the throne room, where the elf in Longris's body is wiping out the guards. King Augustus, furious and with his ego soaring, uses his light magic to create a giant light statue of himself. Longris, completely unimpressed, uses his spatial magic and makes the king's spell simply vanish. As he's about to attack the king, his fiancée, Finez, begs him to stop. Suddenly, Finrel emerges from a portal, saving Finez just as Yami and Jack the Ripper arrive for the party. The three captains charge at Longris. Yami absorbs the spatial spheres with his black hole. Jack slices them with his severing magic, and Finrel redirects them. Yami and Jack launch a combined attack that breaks Longris's automatic defense barrier. Knocked out by a blow from Yami, Longris unleashes one last massive suicidal attack. Finrel uses a new spell, Fallen Angel's Wingbeat, to teleport Yami and Jack to safety. Alone with his brother, Finrel enters his mind and manages to reach him, causing them both to fall to the ground, hand in hand.
I hope you're ready! Wake up!
Good job, Finrel. You did it.
Up in the floating fortress, Patri, Raya, and the other elves confirm they've retrieved the final magic stone. Now all that's left is to place it on the pedestal in the castle to begin the spell that will destroy the Clover Kingdom. Raya welcomes the newly revived Veto and Fauna, the other two members of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. He explains that he used Sally's research to create brand new bodies for them. Fauna notices her mind is clearer, and Raya confirms it's because this time they didn't use the evil eye, which previously amplified their malice. The downside is that when Fauna tries to summon Salamander, she discovers the fire spirit has found a new master. Meanwhile, high in the skies of the Clover Kingdom, the Shadow Palace simply appears. The 10 possessed elves, who now call themselves the Apostles of Sephiroth, gather on a floating platform. A villainous David explains the plan: place the final magic stone in its pedestal, complete the elves' reincarnation, and, as a bonus, send the souls of all humans to the underworld. Kirsch Vermilion tries to take them on, but the party is spectacularly crashed. The Black Bull's base, transformed into a giant golem, comes smashing through. The entire squad, plus Sally, Raids, and Valtos, emerges ready for a fight. The golem base even withstands a few attacks, but then Dorothy, one of the apostles, steps in with her dream magic. In the blink of an eye, she kidnaps Vanessa, Magna, Luck, Charmy, and Sally into the glamour world, a dimension from which, supposedly, no one escapes. To make matters worse, two other apostles, Draw and Eclat, use a combination of mirror and eye magic to paralyze the remaining heroes. But as always, Asta is the exception. His anti-magic frees him from the spell, and as Draw demands the Demon Destroyer sword back, Asta charges forward without a second thought. The members of the Black Bulls kidnapped by the possessed Dorothy wake up in the glamour world, a dimension of pure fantasy. The elf, who calls herself Reeve, explains that inside, she's the boss. Everything she imagines becomes real. When she summons a bizarre monster, Magna destroys it with his fire magic, but only because Vanessa's cat, Rouge, used its red thread of fate power to alter reality. Sally, the group's genius, figures out the logic. Since Reeve creates tangible objects, the laws of real-world physics still apply, and most importantly, she can't control their magic. Reeve lays it all out. Everyone who enters the glamour world eventually gets sleepy and falls into a deep slumber from which they never wake. As the group starts feeling tired, Sally has another brilliant idea. If Reeve's magic brings her thoughts to life, they can force her to create an exit just by thinking really hard about a door. And it actually works. Several doors begin to appear.
Make one, please! Oh, hell yeah! She's only invincible in this dumb glamour world!
The scene cuts to Yami and Jack, who are completely lost in a labyrinth created by another elf's dice magic. Meanwhile, Asta, Henry, Gordon, and Gray continue their fight against the possessed Gauche and Marie. Draw, the elf in Gauche's body, unleashes a storm of mirror attacks. When Henry reaches his limit and Asta is about to be defeated, Gordon and Gray combine their magic, turning Gordon's poison into cotton to save their friend. A flashback reveals Henry's past. He was born with a frail body and a curse that drains mana, leading him to be abandoned by his family. The house he lived in was found by Yami and became the Black Bull's hideout. His friends became his family, and with this motivation, Henry decides to fight with everything he's got. Back in the glamour world, the escape attempt went down the drain when the elf Reeve sealed all the exits with chains. Trapped and running out of mana, Luck comes up with a 200 IQ plan. Use Charmy's cotton and Vanessa's thread to create a replica of the real Dorothy. The trick works, forcing the elf's consciousness to recognize its host and causing the original pink-clad Dorothy to appear. The two Dorothys begin a chaotic battle of dream magic, basically a who can dream harder fight that starts tearing the entire dimension apart.
Come on, really?
Meanwhile, Asta, Gordon, and Gray are in a tough spot against the possessed siblings. They try to use the Black Bull's hideout as a battering ram, but the attack fails, and the base is destroyed. As they fall, Henry activates his curse to its maximum, draining both Gauche's mana and his own in a pure act of sacrifice. But remembering Asta's friendship, his will to live allows Gordon and Gray to combine their magic to save him at the last second. With Gauche and Marie weakened, a flashback reveals the truth about the elf massacre. It was the human nobles, not the first wizard king, who betrayed and killed them to steal their immense power. The elf in Gauche's body, realizing Asta's group is different, accepts defeat. Asta then uses his demon dweller sword and finally frees Gauche and Marie from the spell. To top it all off, the glamour world collapses and Magna, Luck, Vanessa, Sally, Charmy, and the unconscious Dorothy fall from the sky. With almost the entire squad reunited, they prepare to recharge and go help Captain Yami in the Shadow Palace.
Once we recharge, we'll go help the captain!
After the Black Bulls regroup, Charmy prepares a massive feast for everyone to recover their energy. As they eat, Noelle gets all flustered around Asta, and to make matters worse, Sally blurts out that Asta promised to let her experiment on his body after the battle. The look of shock on Noelle's and Mimosa's faces is absolutely priceless. Suddenly, two elves appear to attack but are stopped by the triumphant arrival of Fuegoleon and Mareo Leona. The cavalry has arrived. Asta is overjoyed to see them, and shortly after, Nozel and the other Silva siblings also show up. The path is blocked by the Golden Dawn squad, now possessed and led by Alecdora. Mareo Leona, ever the pragmatist, decides that she and Fuegoleon will enter the palace, while the Black Bulls handle the grunts outside. Magna encourages Asta to go with the captains, and Noelle and Mimosa decide to join him. After receiving a push from their siblings, the trio follows the Vermilions into the Shadow Palace. Inside, a strange mana separates the entire group. Asta and Mimosa land together, and she uses her magic to map the place, revealing several rooms, each containing an elf. They enter one and come face to face with the possessed Rill. Elsewhere, Noelle faces the elf Fana, Mareo Leona confronts the elf Veto, and Fuegoleon takes on the possessed Kaiser. Fuegoleon's attacks are useless against Kaiser's vortex magic. Remembering the rivalry and admiration he has for his sister, both he and Mareo Leona, in their separate fights, recognize themselves as the strongest and unleash powerful new spells. Noelle, using her Valkyrie armor, is in a major brawl with Fana and even unleashes a sea dragon's roar. Fana survives, regenerating with a forbidden magic called Phoenix Robe, which also happens to burn off her clothes. She explains this magic draws power from the other world. Meanwhile, Asta and Mimosa are fighting monsters created by Rill's painting magic. After Asta gets injured protecting Mimosa, he tells her to get on his back and tie herself on with vines. Mimosa uses her magic to heal him as he fights, turning them into a real-time combat and healing unit. Outside, Yuno arrives at the Shadow Palace, and Charmy appears out of nowhere, offering him food that instantly restores his magic. Upon learning that Asta is inside the now sealed palace, Yuno creates a path of light and flies in. Charmy tries to follow but lands right in the middle of Asta's fight. When Rill rudely refuses her food and destroys it, Charmy transforms. She reveals she is a human-dwarf hybrid, and her magic changes from cotton to food magic. She summons a giant wolf and uses her spell, Glutton's Banquet, which simply eats Rill's magic monsters.
So let's eat.
My appetite's insatiable!
Asta and Mimosa leave the fight to her and move on. Just as Fana is about to defeat Noelle, Jack the Ripper appears and saves her. At the top of the palace, Yuno confronts Patri, Raya, and another elf named Rone. He dodges their attacks using his mana zone. Rone uses his magic to steal the magic stone from Yuno. Raya, whose true magic allows him to copy spells, realizes Rone's magic is something else, the ability to know when someone is lying. He questions why Rone just lied. Seconds before Rone reveals himself to be a devil and impales Raya through the chest. In a flashback, Raya himself narrates that he knew the first Wizard King never betrayed the elves, but he lied to fuel his people's hatred for humans. The imposter Rone then reveals his true nature. He is a devil with a 5-leaf grimoire. He explains that he manipulated Lich and the first Wizard King just to create a grimoire of despair. The devil brags that he was the one who orchestrated the elf massacre 500 years ago, tricking the humans into doing his dirty work. Furious, Patri attacks with light magic, but the devil easily nullifies it with his word soul magic, which basically turns whatever he says into reality. He impales Patri with iron spears just by speaking. At that exact moment, Asta and Mimosa crash through the ceiling and join the party. The devil unleashes a storm of blades at them. Asta uses his anti-magic to destroy the magical blades, while Yuno's wind magic deflects the physical ones in a spectacular combined defense. Even so, the devil instantly heals his wounds and reveals that a 5-leaf grimoire is born from the despair of a 4-leaf user. To prove his point, he uses his power to corrupt Patri, turning him into a monstrous dark elf, and the first thing he does is unleash an absurd attack. Asta and Yuno, already near their limit, recognize the magic and brace for the worst. The two protagonists face the dark elf's divine ray of punishment. In an epic combination, Asta uses his anti-magic and Yuno uses his spirit magic to survive the blast.
Still together! We've got this!
As Patry prepares to attack again, none other than Nozel Silva appears, vowing to avenge his rival Fuegoleon. Using his Mercury magic, Nozel reflects Patry's light attacks and tracks him in his Silver Star of Execution, an inescapable prison. Inside, he bombards Patry until the guy collapses. But just as he's about to deliver the final blow, Yuno stops Nozel, revealing that Patry is in William's body. Asta then decides to use his Demon Dweller's sword to sever this connection. He stabs Patry, and his consciousness is pulled into the elf's mind. There, Asta finds a young and desperate version of Patry and chews him out, screaming at him to stop giving up and hurting innocent people. Asta says he won't be forgiven, but he needs to get up and fight. His words, reminiscent of the first Wizard King, free Patry's soul, breaking the spell. At that very moment, the devil emerges from the five-leaf grimoire, but Lich, now fully awakened, stands to face him. Yami and another elf, Sharla, arrive to join the fray, while the anti-bird Nero finally speaks, telling Finrel to take her to the bones of the ancient demon. Things just got real. Meanwhile, Yami and Sharla are in a desperate battle against the devil himself, a being named Zagred. His word soul magic is simply insane. The god basically speaks things into existence. He conjures a storm of blades that the two can barely defend against. Yami discovers that his dark magic is the only thing the devil can't nullify, forcing the villain to dodge. Amused, the devil summons a new monstrosity, a giant amorphous blob of otherworldly matter that consumes magic and drains the life force of anyone nearby. Just as Yami and Sharla are about to be swallowed, Asta, Yuno, and the other elves arrive in the nick of time. The powerful attacks from Lich and Yuno are simply absorbed by the disgusting mass. As the blob advances, Asta shoves everyone aside and takes the hit head on, but his anti-magic repels the spell. Realizing Asta is their only hope, Nozel devises a plan. He and Mimosa will rescue the other knights while Asta, Yuno, and Lich head straight for the main chamber to face the devil. At the demon's skull, Finrel places the magic stones on a statue of the first Wizard King. Just as Nero instructed, the statue glows, breaking a seal on Nero, who transforms into a young woman with horns named Secre. The statue itself comes to life, revealing itself to be the first Wizard King, Lumiere.
No way! What's happening?
It's good to see you again, my prince.
At long last.
A flashback shows their story from 500 years ago. Prince Lumiere was friends with the elf leader, Lich, and they dreamed of a world where humans and elves could live in peace. But a devil manipulated the royal court, causing the elf massacre. In his despair, Lich was transformed into a demon, and Lumiere was forced to defeat him. A flashback shows a colossal demon, who is actually the elf leader, Lich, destroying the Clover Kingdom. The first Wizard King, Lumiere, confronts his friend, who begs for death. Lumiere unleashes his powerful light magic, but the battle is interrupted by the true villain, the devil Zagred, who orchestrated everything from the start. As Lumiere fights, Secre uses a magical item to absorb the devil's power, but the item shatters. With his last ounce of will, Lich begs Lumiere to end his suffering. Lumiere casts a final spell, turning the demon to stone and becoming a legend. After the battle, Secre finds a dying Lumiere. As Zagred tries to steal Lich's five-leaf grimoire, Secre uses forbidden magic to seal the devil. In revenge, Zagred curses her with horns. To save Lumiere, Secre uses another forbidden spell, sealing him in a statue to preserve his life, which turns her into an anti-bird for 500 years.
You are our hope for a brighter future.
Back in the present, the resurrected Lumiere and the now human Secre join Asta and the others. Secre heals Lumiere and then uses her magic to awaken Lich's true soul. The two old friends, Lumiere and Lich, are reunited and combine their sword and light magic in a devastating attack against Zagred. However, like a Dragon Ball villain, Zagred regenerates from his still beating heart, mocking their efforts. As the heroes prepare for the next round, Asta realizes his anti-magic is their only hope. Down below, Yami and Sharla have a front row seat, watching the demon's absurd mana. Yami realizes his dark magic is the perfect counter to the devil, and decides to wait for the right moment to strike. Up above, Asta completely loses control of his anti-magic, which morphs into a giant clumsy sword. The devil, of course, doesn't miss the chance to mock Asta's lack of skill, and summons a horde of giant worm-like creatures to flood the area. Just as Asta is about to be swallowed by the swarm, the first Wizard King, Lumiere, appears appears to save the day. Lich and Yuno's attacks don't even scratch the demon, so Lich resorts to demon light magic, which finally manages to deal some damage. Inspired, Asta finally masters his power and creates the Black Divider sword, while Yuno creates the Spirit of Zephyr. The two rivals combine their attacks, with Yuno's wind acting as a propellant for Asta to slice through the demon, but the beast regenerates, revealing it moved its heart to a different location. The demon then launches a massive attack to consume the entire Shadow Palace. In response, Lumiere and Lich use the Demon Dweller sword to create a barrier of light, protecting everyone. From below, Yami sees his chance. With Charla's help, he unleashes Dark Cloak Dimension / Equinox, an attack so absurd it slices both the palace and the demon in half. The devil regenerates again, but just as Asta's body begins to give out, Sacre uses her sealing magic to heal him, telling him to surpass his limits. Yuno launches one last gigantic wind attack as a distraction, allowing a fully recovered Asta to charge forward and pierce the demon's heart with the Demon Slayer sword, defeating the fiend once and for all. As the demon's body disintegrates, a mysterious voice from Asta's grimoire taunts the defeated devil before it vanishes completely. With the villain gone, the Shadow Palace begins to crumble. The magic knights and the now freed elves rush to escape the collapsing structure. Lumiere's magic runs out and his light platforms disappear, causing everyone to plummet. In a moment of pure genius, Asta uses his Black Divider to create a platform and save his friends. Soon, the other groups join them, including Yami, Charlotte, and the remnants of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. The souls of the original elves, including Lich, begin to depart for the afterlife. Lumiere's stone body crumbles, and he shares an emotional farewell with Sacre before his spirit also fades away.
You helped me protect the future. Let me go. You did well. Goodbye.
The immediate threat is over, but the kingdom is still in danger from the reincarnated elves. William finally regains control of his body from Patri and uses his world tree magic, creating a gigantic tree that connects to all the possessed magic knights. Asta, using his demon destroyer sword, channels the tree's magic and unleashes a wave of anti-magic, which acts as a global antivirus, breaking the reincarnation spell. The elves' souls peacefully leave their hosts. After the dust settles, Yami and William visit Julius Novachrono's grave only to find the body missing. Our wizard king, Julius Novachrono, reappears alive and well, only now in the body of a 13-year-old boy, all thanks to a magic item that had stored his life's time.
Guess I survived. Though as you can see, I'm a bit smaller now.
Okay, hold on. What kind of wacky plot twist is this?
Yami, of course, is furious about the fake death. In a private conversation, Julius calls William for a straight talk. He takes the blame for losing to the elven soul within him, and instead of a harsh punishment, orders the Golden Dawn's captain to atone by serving the kingdom. William swears his loyalty with his grimoire and his life. Soon after, Julius gathers Asta, Noel, Mimosa, and Sacre to list the problems. First, he's a kid now and has no authority. Second, the neighboring kingdoms are eyeing Clover, ready to invade. And third, the biggest problem of all, Asta is at risk of being executed for his demonic power. And speaking of the devil, as the kingdom rebuilds, Asta and Sacre are arrested and taken to the magic parliament. There, a man named Damnatio Kira presides over a trial with a foregone conclusion. He uses Gauche's sister Marie as bait to blackmail Asta, forces him to manifest the demon, and immediately declares him guilty. But true kangaroo court. The capital is buzzing with headlines accusing Asta of having a pact with the devil. Back in Hodge, Father Orsi and Sister Lily are outraged, while the villains from the Eye of the Midnight Sun mock the situation. Damnatio further threatens Hodge Village and the girl herself to force Asta to surrender. But when all seems lost, the Black Bulls, led by Yami, burst through the courtroom wall and make a grand entrance, declaring their unwavering loyalty to Asta. In the midst of the chaos, Sacre reveals herself, breaks free, and even receives her squad robe on the spot. Damnatio tries to use his scale magic to bring everyone to their knees, but Asta nullifies it with the Demon Destroyer sword. Before an all-out brawl can erupt, Nozel and Fuegoleon appear with an order from the Wizard King. The Black Bulls are exiled and given an official mission to investigate demons. In reality, it's just a brilliant move by the child Julius to save everyone's skin from the parliament. Asta is making a racket renovating the Black Bulls' base until Yami calls him for their new mission, investigating demons, now with Sacre officially on the team. Meanwhile, in the capital, Charlotte apologizes excuses to Saul for being possessed. The problem is, when she remembers the praise the elf Charlotte gave Yami, she panics when he shows up. Thinking he's discovered her secret, Charlotte flees and has a flashback. Her family's curse, the day Yami saved her, and the exact moment she fell in love. She gathers the blue rose, admits her feelings, and even considers leaving the squad. But, to her surprise, her comrades celebrate and become her love advisors. Pushed to confess, she fumbles her words completely, and Yami misunderstands, thinking she hates him. Asta even tries to help, but only makes things worse. Later, at dinner, Charlotte reveals her curse came from an incredibly powerful mage, perhaps from another dimension, and drops a bombshell. Someone in the Black Bulls has an even worse curse. The scene cuts to Gordon in his eerie room, surrounded by dolls of the entire squad. Yami sends Gordon to his family, the Agrippas, to research curses and try to clear Asta's name. Asta, Gray, and Gauche go along as bodyguards. Arriving at the Gothic-style mansion, Gordon's grandmother utters the name Megicula, and his father, Nathan, reveals he uses the family's dark knowledge to create medicine. He projects a magical map showing active curses, Henry's, at the Black Bull's base, and another, much larger one, coming from the Heart Kingdom. In parallel, Noelle seeks out Dorothy, the captain of the Coral Peacocks, to learn the truth about her mother's death. Inside the glamour world, Dorothy explains that Asir, Noelle's mother, was cursed by a devil named Megikalon. The most harrowing part of the story is that just speaking about it in the real world transfers the curse to the listener, which is why Nozel kept this secret for so long. Now, everything makes sense. Asta returns to the base with valuable information about the curse in the Heart Kingdom. Yami mentions that crossing the border is nearly impossible, but Noelle reveals she's been there before. Thus, Asta, Noelle, and Finrel set off for the Golden Dawn's HQ. There, Finrel takes the opportunity to visit his brother Longris, promising to surpass him and win Finez's heart, only to receive a cold, indifferent response. With Mimosa's approval, Yami decides to borrow a ship, and the group departs on their mission. Upon arrival, they are greeted by Gaja, a spirit guardian of the kingdom, who creates a staircase of water for them. But then, out of nowhere, he attacks. Gaja traps Asta in a water bubble and sends him flying, while effortlessly defeating Noelle, Mimosa, and Finrel.
Asta! You have some rather intriguing magic.
Asta lands in a cave and comes face to face with Undine, the water spirit. She explains the Heart Kingdom's power system and without further ado, announces she will take the demon's power for herself. Asta barely escaped one trial, only to fall into another trap. Asta and Sekre are brought before the Queen of the Heart Kingdom, Laurel Pechika, who turns out to be a somewhat clumsy but incredibly kind girl, always accompanied by Undine. Gaja, having now assessed the Clover group's strength, reports on his battle with them. The Queen then explains the kingdom's magic stage system and gets straight to the point. To face a devil, one must be at least stage 1. Then comes the bombshell. She herself is cursed by Megicula and has only 1 year to live. To prove her power, she controls all the water in the kingdom and asks for Clover's help. Meanwhile, on the border with the Diamond Kingdom, Luck, Magna, and Vanessa watch as a single mage from the Spade Kingdom annihilates an entire army, demonstrating the level of the coming threat. Julius immediately accepts the alliance with Heart. 6 months of intense training, followed by a direct assault on Spade. The rule is clear. Only arcane stage mages, like Asta's anti-magic and Yami's dark magic, can defeat devils. Yami gives the order. They have 6 months to surpass all their limits. With the Clover Kingdom still rebuilding, the captains appear in public to reassure the populace, with Owen posing as Julius to keep up appearances. King Augustus, as usual, tries to steal the show with a light display, but Yami and Jack arrive brawling and ruin everything, earning a scolding from Charlotte. The public begins to question the Black Bull's second-place ranking and gossip about Asta's demon. Later, in a meeting with the 9 captains and the group that went to the Heart Kingdom, William apologizes to Yami, who just scoffs. Julius enters with Marx and Damnatio, and they discuss Megicula, confirming the plan to attack Spade in 6 months. To do so, everyone must reach the first stage as quickly as possible. Julius rejects the resignation request from William, Charlotte, and Kaiser, pardons Gueldred to aid in reconstruction, and to Yami and Jack's despair, cuts all the captains' salaries in half. To top off the night, the two lose even more money to William at a bar, who ends up paying the tab and vowing to defeat the devil. Murio Leona, without asking, invades the Black Bull's base, kidnaps the entire squad, and takes them to train at the Ultimate Volcano, along with the Crimson Lions. The place is a strong magic region, with heat so extreme that everyone is forced to master the Manaskin technique just to survive. Asta, as always, finds his own way by using anti-magic to protect himself.
Not bad!
Right. This should do it.
The trip is a descent, a race through hellish caves filled with monsters, towards a special hot spring at the volcano's center. Charmy and Gordon almost give up, but their pride won't let them. Asta and Leopold get into a fierce competition, while Cray is only interested in reaching the spring. Noelle even starts hallucinating from the heat before snapping out of it and attacking Asta on pure reflex. As Luck goes off searching for strong enemies, a giant spider appears, traps Noelle, and withstands Leopold's attacks. It's then that Mario Leona and Fuego Leon reveal their plan. They use the knights as bait to lure the spider and locate a secret dungeon. Mario Leona confirms with Marx that the mission is to find a magic tool in the newly discovered dungeon to help with the kingdom's reconstruction. Julius wants to join, but he's forbidden from going to avoid exposing his child form. The team, consisting of Asta, Noelle, Luck, Magna, Leopold, and Randall, splits into 3 routes filled with traps. Luck, reckless as ever, rushes ahead and triggers all of them, separating the group. Asta and Noelle face a wave of lava, and he carries her on his back to get across. They reunite with Luck and Magna in front of strange chests with legs. Meanwhile, Leopold and Randall reach the treasure room, but are attacked by the same giant spider and stone golems. The Black Bulls arrive just in time to help. In a moment of crisis, Leopold remembers his friend's sacrifices, awakens a new technique, compresses his flames into a devastating beam, and annihilates the enemies.
I had a breakthrough, and it's time to make use of it.
Cray discovers that the tool had transformed the spider and was destroyed in the fight. As punishment, Mario Leona orders Asta and Leopold to search the entire area all night. They return empty-handed, and upon reaching their base, the door explodes. Mario Leona is already there, waiting for them. At the Seabed Temple, the priests are in a panic. A sea guardian has gone berserk, and not even Kyoto and Kaho no can handle it, forcing them to retreat. On the beach, the Black Bulls are training in the region's natural mana, and Noelle begins to hear a strange melody. Suddenly, Kaho no and Kyoto emerge from the water asking for help. The High Priest explains that the unstable mana has caused monsters to appear and driven the giant guardian mad. Noelle proposes using a compact version of her Sea Dragon's Nest magic to get the team there. With Finrel as the escape button, they descend through an area called the Void of No Return, facing monster fish and even a giant kraken, which blinds the group with its ink. Remembering Loro Pichika's lesson about natural mana, Noelle creates individual air bubbles, activates her Valkyrie dress, and defeats the beast. Arriving at the abyssal ruins, they find the Guardian, a white whale with a mane, horns, and tentacles, protecting its calf. Kaho no and Kyoto's ritual finally calms it. As thanks, the Guardian touches Noelle's forehead, showing her an image of her mother. Charmy decides she needs to improve her cooking to boost her allies' mana. Her first attempt goes sideways. Magna and Luck become superpowered but completely out of control. In the capital, the chef puts her through intense training and sends her to find rare ingredients. Upon her return, she prepares a dish that looks so awful no one dares to try it. The problem is, the dishes merge and become a gluttonous monster that starts sucking everyone's mana. Yami sends Asta to deal with it. Since he has no mana to lose, he literally eats the enemy, releasing the accumulated energy and leaving everyone exhausted.
I'm gonna let it go to waste!
That'll come out of both ends later.
They did it to themselves.
Asta's lesson about the spice of love makes Charmy understand that cooking is about making others happy. Meanwhile, Gordon tries to train Mario Leona style by himself, gets lost in the forest for 3 days, fights poison-immune wolves, and realizes his strength comes from his friends. The wolves end up guiding him back, where he discovers no one even noticed he was gone, because they were all at a restaurant having a special deal. Zora visits the grave of his father Zara, and finds fresh flowers, a sign that someone still admires him. Nearby, he sees a commoner boy named Ina being humiliated by nobles, who also mock Zara. When Ida gets beaten up, Zora uses his traps to intervene. The boy's father, a vendor who was a fan of Zara, appears shortly after. At night, the noble Kaido returns with a magic item to amplify his power and nearly causes a tragedy, but Zora manages to deflect the attack with his trap magic. To make matters worse, Kaido's father invades Ina's house, accusing him of theft. It's then that Zora reveals his Black Bull's robe, exposes the farce, defies and kicks the two nobles out. As he leaves, Ina finally understands Zora's special quality, and Zora, in his own style, leaves a stinky bug as a parting gift. Worried about the squad's readiness for the war against Spade, Vanessa returns to the Witch's Forest and asks the Queen to teach her an ancient magic. The Queen agrees, but on one condition. Vanessa must solve a problem with beasts that are interfering with the forest's security golems. Paired with two witches who lack attack magic, Samantha and Elvira, the trio nearly fails, but after an encounter with Dominante Code, a phrase sparks an idea. Everything has a use. Using thread puppets, illusions, and sounds, they create fake bait to lure the predators and scare them away with a makeshift monster. The Queen, who is watching from afar, is impressed. The three become local heroes, and Vanessa understands her power lies in creativity and bringing people together. Back at the base, she even turns down a drink from Yami to stay focused on her training. Julius, still disguised as a boy, finishes his work and asks Marks for a few favors. Shortly after, Marks shows up at the Black Bull's base with Sally, who has been released from prison to help create an item that enhances magical power. Asta offers to be a guinea pig, but since he has no mana, he ends up last in line. Upon seeing the mad scientist, the bulls try to flee, but Sally hunts them down one by one with her magic. She tricks Vanessa with wine, Charmy with snacks, and even uses a clone of Marie to paralyze Gauche. She collects samples from everyone, and from Asta, she only manages to get a lock of hair. Meanwhile, Marks, Fuego Leon, and Nozel investigate bandits in a village. When they say the password Chronovala, the previously fearful villagers reveal they know Julius's alter ego, who used to disguise himself as an old woman there. At night, they discover the bandits are the villagers themselves, driven by poverty. The captains forgive the attack and promise to help rebuild the village. A quick jump to the past shows a young Asta and Yuno promising each other they would build their own families one day. Back in the present, at the Golden Dawn, Alekdora still holds a serious grudge against Yuno and leads a mission in Sussy just to prove he's better. The mission, hunting some boars that were more enraged than the Hulk. Alekdora wants to use brute force, but Yuno plays detective and discovers the cause. Some purple berries that were driving the animals wild. Problem solved. They barely return before another issue arises, a dungeon supposedly holding Spade soldiers. But instead of an army, they find a gang of thieves, led by a former magic knight who turned rogue. The guy comes equipped with an item that disrupts Alekdora's sand, and worse, an urn that acts like a magic vacuum, even sucking away Sylph's power. At a disadvantage, the Golden Dawn proves that teamwork is everything. They break the floor, Sylph retrieves the urn, and Yuno lands the masterstroke, hiding an ascending tornado within Alekdora's magic to catch the villain by surprise. In the end, Alekdora swallows his pride, apologizes, and admits Yuno knows his stuff. He even invites Yuno to dinner, and that's when it hits him. He is finally forming the family he promised so long ago. Gray is in that phase of feeling like an NPC, while all her friends are leveling up. Determined to become a main character, she asks Noelle for posture lessons to overcome her shyness, but it doesn't click. Gordon even suggests using dolls as an audience, but her insecurity glitches, and she starts transforming into everyone but herself. Her last hope is Gauche, who comes up with a highly questionable coaching method, mirrors everywhere, fake hypnosis, and a role-playing session where she is Marie. The breakdown turns into therapy when Gauche bluntly tells her the truth. You can change the skin, but the character is the same. She's still Gray. In parallel, Charlotte is training hard with the Blue Rose, while her subordinates just want to gossip about her and Yami. The captain turns beet red, and to make matters worse, at the captain's meeting, she literally trips and falls into his arms in a classic rom-com scene. Julius, who is no fool, sees this spark and gets a brilliant idea to hype everyone up, pit captain against captain in a massive show for the whole kingdom to see. Basically, a royal rumble of the bosses. The captain's tournament begins with the team set. On one side, pure offense with Jack, Yami, Nozel, and Kaiser. On the other, shrewd strategy from Dorothy, William, Charlotte, and Fuego Leon. William immediately creates an entire forest in the arena and fires wooden spears. Nozel and Kaiser hold the line. Jack starts slicing through everything, and Yami tries to advance, but Charlotte traps him with briars. The fight becomes controlled chaos. Dorothy uses her glamour world to deflect attacks, while Fuego Leon and Salamander ramp up the pressure. Nozel tries to trap them in Mercury, but Fuego Leon vaporizes a lake to escape and counterattack. Jack gets caught in a trap, but through sheer stubbornness, he tears through his own magic to break free. Meanwhile, Yami is pulled into Dorothy's dream dimension, and tired of fighting clones, he simply rips reality apart with his dark cloak dimension / equinox. The arena explodes with so much power that both teams' crystals are hit simultaneously. A draw. Julius ends the show, leaving a message. This fight was just a warm-up for the war to come. Months of training later, the Magic Knights are on another level. To celebrate Asta and Noelle's 1-year anniversary with the Black Bulls, Yami takes the entire squad back to the Magic Knights entrance exam, the place where their journey began. The memories flood back. Asta remembers the broom that wouldn't fly and how he started with 0 magic. Noelle, now super confident in her Valkyrie dress, laughs at how much she's grown. Nozel even shows up and finally acknowledges his sister's power, admitting that all his coldness was just a twisted way of protecting her. Noelle proudly retorts that the Black Bulls are her true family. Of course, Yuno couldn't miss the chance to renew his vow with Asta. One of them will become the next Wizard King.
We'll fight to see who will be the Wizard King, whatever it takes.
The day ends with no new members joining the Bulls. After all, the squad standard for weirdness is high. Back at the base, they celebrate the rookie's 1-year anniversary. From a distance, Julius watches with a smile, while William returns the magic stone to Yuno, closing a cycle. Marx updates Julius. The Clover Kingdom is recovering well from the elf incident. At the captain's meeting, the topic is the joint training in the Heart Kingdom. Yami chooses Asta and Secret for being Arcane Stage, along with Luck, Finrel, and Noelle. Nozel immediately gets worried about his sister, and Dorothy doesn't miss the chance to tease him. William recommends Mimosa for her indispensable healing magic, and mentions that Yuno declined the invitation. Fuego Leon sends Leopold to gain experience. Charlotte wants to go to feel the elf power again, and Rill, obsessed with the muse who saved him, begs to go too. At the Star Award ceremony, Saul, Mimosa, and Leopold are promoted, but it's Yuno who steals the show with 77 stars, earning a promotion to first-class senior magic knight. King Augustus gets salty, and just to be petty, promotes Seikei to the same rank to try and overshadow the commoner. Back with the Bulls, Yami confirms the team, and Magna makes such a scene that he ends up being included. Meanwhile, Longris watches Yuno from afar, and a heavy sense of foreboding hangs in the air. The rumor at the Golden Dawn is clear. Yuno is going to take Longris's spot as vice captain. With his pride wounded, Longris visits Finez and finds some incredibly sweet letters from his brother Finrel. The comparison irritates him so much he explodes, but he quickly composes himself and decides to settle things the hard way. He challenges Yuno to a duel. Loser leaves the squad. The fight begins with Longris using his spatial magic to destroy everything, but Yuno, calm as ever, adapts and responds in kind. Longris gets desperate, but Yuno activates Spirit Dive. A remnant of elf power instinctively protects Longris, but it's no use. Yuno is faster and places Zephyr at his throat. Game over.
Your image. It is over.
Oh, good.
They both survived.
Yuno realizes Longris was trying to lose on purpose to leave on his own terms, and refuses the bet, demanding a real rematch in the future. Even so, Longris requests an indefinite leave of absence, and, on his way out, runs into Finrel, who shows up at the perfect time for one last brotherly taunt. Meanwhile, in the Black Bull's base, Charmy's kitchen is in full swing, and Yumi gives Magna the go-ahead. The caravan finally departs for the Heart Kingdom. In the Heart Kingdom, Queen Loro Pechikad gets straight to the point about the war. Gaja, one of the Spirit Guardians, explains their fighting style and assigns training partners. Each will train with a guardian whose magic mirrors their own. Luck is paired with Gaja himself. As for Asta, being an arcane stage mage with no mana, he gets a different test, a hand-to-hand fight against Gaja. Noelle and Secret get VIP training with Loro Pechika and Undine, focused on preparing for the battle with Megikula. The local mana words technique accelerates some members' progress but completely stumps Magna, who gets frustrated and leaves. Real mistakes the training for a date with his inspiration and just wants to paint, while Charmy uses her power to sniff out the best local snacks. In combat, Asta can't even touch Gaja, ignoring all advice and insisting on brute force. Finrel, meanwhile, tries to turn his escape magic into an offensive ability. Seeing everyone evolving, Yami decides he needs to level up too, and sets off to find a way to make his slash even more devastating. Master and student follow parallel paths to grow stronger. Asta continues to get his butt kicked by Gaja in the Heart Kingdom. Meanwhile, Yami seeks out Mario Leona in the Clover Kingdom to learn how to master Monozone through sheer, overwhelming pressure. In Heart, the Guardians inform Loro Pechica that the Clover Knights are indeed getting stronger, but while the heroes are sweating it out, the villains aren't on vacation. The Spade Kingdom resistance tries to spy on the Dark Triad and confirms a massive army is being assembled, but they are discovered and forced to flee to avoid being annihilated. In a final act of desperation, they send a man named Ralph running through a strong magic region to deliver a warning. When a subordinate tells Dante someone escaped, he barely cares. Confident in his absurd power, he just projects a sinister shadow and makes it clear the invasion is already scheduled. Asta's rematch against Gaja begins with our protagonist having a mental flashback of his entire journey. The 5-leaf grimoire, anti-magic, the swords, and mastering key. With every blow, he remembers where he came from. Noelle also continues to evolve under the watchful eyes of Loro Pechica and Undine. Meanwhile, in the Clover Kingdom, every member of the Black Bulls is working on their own growth. Magnet trains with Zora, Vanessa and Gray look after Gauche, and Gordon dives into poison studies with his father. Back in the fight, Asta is disarmed, which, in the past, would have meant certain defeat, but now, his instincts are sharper than a chef's knife. He learns to summon the Demon Slayer sword back to his hand, as if the blade were Thor calling Mjolnir. He hasn't won to fight yet, but the message is clear. Asta's anti-magic has just unlocked a new level.
There lives a devil.
Wait, my sword. What the?
A hooded man crosses a strong magic region, nearly dying just to deliver an urgent message. In the Heart Kingdom, Undine detects an approaching Spade mobile fortress, Condelo, which runs on the mana of kidnapped civilians. Loro Pechica gathers the team, but Asta is already flying ahead, saving a woman and taking down soldiers with a single strike. The enemy commander tries to use poison, but Asta nullifies it all with the Demon Destroyer sword and, to top it off, activates the Black Divider and slices the entire fortress in half. Noelle, Mimosa, and Finrel arrive to help with the rescue. Mimosa heals the wounded, and they discover that Luck and Leopold have also liberated another town. It's then that a survivor drops the bombshell. The real threat is the Dark Triad, 3 mages who wield devil power. In the villain's castle, Dante, Xenon, and Vanica decide their first targets will be 2 arcane stage mages. Far away, the hooded traveler finally reaches the church in Hodge, collapsing in front of Sister Lily and whispering the name that will change the game, Yuno.
Please, Lord Yuno.
Sister Lily and Father Orsi tend to the unconscious stranger. Meanwhile, in the Heart Kingdom, after the successful mission, the group returns to training. In a lighthearted moment, even Queen Loro Pechica tries to join Noelle and the others for a relaxing bath. The peace is short-lived. As news arrives that Charmy is destroying an entire forest, Asta goes to handle it and finds his friend in a giant cotton form. He tries to stop her, but ends up being swallowed. Suddenly, Rill appears, freezes the cotton monster, lectures Charmy, and feeling inspired, paints a picture of the goddess who saved him in the past, even as Asta insists it was her. Far from all this chaos, Yuno answers the call from Hodge. The stranger, named Ralph, sees the magic stone around Yuno's neck and drops the biggest reveal of the series so far. Yuno is no ordinary orphan. He is in fact the heir to House Grimberry-All, the long-lost prince of the Spade Kingdom.
Look just like Queen Ciel. And that necklace, the prince and rightful heir to the Spade Kingdom's throne.
The bombshell drops in Hodge. Father Orsi, shocked, asks about Asta, but Ralph knows nothing. To prove his story, he uses magic to project memories. Yuno's birth, the happy citizens, the king giving him the magic stone, and then the terror, memories of the Zogratis coup, with Xenon and Vanica slaughtering everyone while Dante took the throne. We see Ralph's father desperately fleeing with baby Yuno, crossing a strong magic region, and sacrificing himself to leave the prince safe and sound at the church in Hodge. Yuno barely has time to process any of this when an alarm goes off. The Golden Dawn's base is under attack. Xenon invades with 2 subordinates, Gatteroy and Foil, and orders them to kill everyone except the arcane stage mage. While Gatteroy taunts everyone, explaining the levels of devil power, Xenon goes straight for William. Alec Dora tries to help, but takes a bone stake to the chest and is only saved by a reflex from his captain. When Yuno finally arrives, he finds the base in ruins, and blind with rage, activates Spirit Dive to face Gatteroy head-on. It's going to be a brutal fight.
I'm here! What the hell do you think you're doing? To my comrades!
Consumed by rage, Yuno charges at Gataroy. With the precision of the spirit of Zephyr, he practically shreds the enemy's stone armor and mercilessly cuts him down, vowing to put an end to people like him. Meanwhile, on another battlefront, Klaus and the others are trapped in a sinister mist, but Yuno's wind comes to the rescue, dissipating the smoke and revealing the villain's true body. Lital immobilizes him, and Klaus finishes the job. But the team's victory is short-lived. The ceiling collapses, revealing that William has been defeated by a man named Xenon. Yuno recognizes him from a past encounter and rushes into the fight, but Xenon is on a whole other level. He impales Klaus and Lital with bones that sprout from his body, unleashes 55% of his demonic power, regenerates from everything, and basically states the power gap between them is an abyss. With a single blow, he takes Yuno down. Later, the Golden Dawn's base lies in ruins. William's World Tree magic, even in defeat, manages to heal those on the brink of death. Still, the damage is severe. Half of the squad is dead. Amidst the rubble, Yuno rises and unleashes a cry of pure helplessness. Dante, a madman obsessed with true malice, arrives at the Black Bull's base as if he owns the place. Using his gravity magic, he simply lifts the entire base into the air like a child's toy. Vanessa, Henry, and Gauche try to fight back, but the man distorts space, trapping everyone, and even becomes enchanted by Rouge, Vanessa's cat of fate. Asta bursts onto the scene in attack mode, and Dante reveals himself as a member of the Dark Triad. He tries to recruit Vanessa, increases his demonic power to 60%, and drains all of Rouge's magic. As the final provocation, he creates a giant stone sword and impales Gauche through the chest. Seeing his friend fall causes Asta's demonic power to erupt. Uncontrolled, he attacks with such ferocity that he manages to land a scratch on Dante's cheek, and the villain, instead of getting angry, cracks a smile, thrilled with his new toy. Meanwhile, Vanica and her disciples advance toward the Heart Kingdom, and Loro Pechica can already sense the impending disaster. Dante is not pleased with the scratch and retaliates by humiliating Asta. Watching the scene, Gray despairs and begins to remember her life, which was basically a real-life Cinderella story until the day Gauche saved her. This powerful memory awakens her true magic, transmutation. The stone sword in Gauche's chest turns to dust, and the wound closes, leaving even Dante stunned by her power. That's when Yami arrives to set things straight. Using his mana zone, he creates a black hole that nullifies Dante's gravity and tears through the villain with a precise slash, but it's no use. The guy dodges immediately and informs Yami that he is a key piece in connecting the living world with the underworld. Far away, in the Heart Kingdom, the Spirit Guardians are taking a beating, but Luck masters the use of runes, bypasses Svenkin's skin defense, and pierces through his opponent like a lightning bolt, even thanking him for the fight in the end. The fight continues, and Yami's Dark Cloak slash rips another hole in Dante, who again regenerates using body magic. The villain then tells his story. He was a bored assassin, and now his plan is to use Yami's dark magic and William's World Tree magic to open the Tree of Qlifoth, a portal that will bring devils to Earth. In the Heart Kingdom, the battle is also heating up. Halbert sets the forest ablaze with hair magic until Charmy awakens a new form, summoning a giant wolf of food magic that literally devours her opponent's magic. Leopold, who is getting thrashed by Civoire and his all-seeing eye, prepares a massive mana circle and unleashes true fire magic, Crimson Eruption, completely turning the tables. Mimosa and Undine manage to petrify another disciple just as Vanica appears, smiling and ready to start the fun.
Yoo-hoo! Happy to see me, little Laura Petchka?
Noelle finally comes face to face with Vanica, the woman who killed her mother. Laurel Pechica activates a highly calculated plan. She creates a battleground called the Playful Sanctuary, where her mana zone weakens Vanica's blood magic and gives a power-up to Noelle's water. With this, Noelle evolves her Valkyrie armor into the mermaid form, becoming much faster.
Valkyrie armor! Mermaid form! It's destroyed so much! But the damage stops right here and now!
Vanica is unfazed and raises her demonic power to 70%, while Mimosa manages to immobilize one of her aides. The strategy is clear. Exhaust Vanica and Megicula's mana to create an opening for the final plan, using Nero's eternal prison to seal the villain. Amidst explosions and water slashes, the team successfully pushes Vanica into position for the ceiling, but in the distance, the immortal disciples begin to rise again, ready for a second round against Gaja, Luck, Leopold, and Charmy. Noelle and Lordo Pechica corner Vanica, preparing the final sealing. But Megicula had an ace up her sleeve, a spell called Decaying World, which was already 70% active and begins to corrode the sealing spell, while also activating a curse on the queen. Undine simply vanishes. In a last desperate effort, Noelle hits Vanica square with the Sea Dragon's roar, but she regenerates and swats the knight away as if she were nothing. Meanwhile, Dante raises his demonic power to 80% and continues healing from all of Yami's attacks. With no other options, Yami condenses his mana zone and unleashes Death Thrust, a blow that pierces through the villain's body. Even so, the man returns to normal and laughs. Seeing he can't handle it alone, Yami calls on Asta to finish the job. Vanica decides that killing Lord Pechica would be too boring, so she kidnaps the queen to take her to the Spade Kingdom. Before fleeing, she turns her disciples into human bombs and leaves a taunt for Noelle. Back at the bull's base, Asta makes a deal with his devil. He gives up his right arm in exchange for more power. In perfect sync, he and Yami attack together. Yami breaks through the defense with a dimension slash, and Asta lands the final blow, taking Dante down. But the celebration lasts only seconds. Xenon appears out of nowhere, capturing Yami and a defeated William, explaining he needs them both to open the Tree of Qlifoth. Finrel tries to stop him but is blocked. Asta tries to force more power from his devil and collapses. Xenon vanishes with the captains, and the entire squad sinks into despair. Owen is treating the wounded and warns Asta that using his demonic arm is dangerous. While healing Gauche, he discovers that Gray's magic isn't just transformation, but complete reconstruction, a bizarre and still mysterious power. At night, a hooded man immobilizes Asta with shadows, mocks his rescue plan, and drives him to tears of frustration. The man reveals himself as Noct, the Black Bull's vice captain and also a devil host. He offers to train Asta. At the Magic Knight captain's meeting, Noct lays his cards on the table. In 3 days, the advent of Qlifoth ritual will begin, with Yami and William as sacrifices to release 10 devils over 7 days. Yuno appears and reveals he is the Prince of Spade, demanding a place in the fight. With time running out, an elite team begins to form. Far away, Noelle, Mimosa, and Secre wake up in Elysia and meet the elves, descendants of Lich and Tectia, who were saved in the past by a goddess named Dryad. Secre recalls that she was the one who saved Tectia and her twins centuries ago. Burning with rage for losing to Vanica, Noelle asks to be trained, and Lich agrees to teach her the elves' ultimate magic. In the Clover Kingdom, Gaja confirms he will join the invasion team. Back with the Black Bulls, Noct appears with a very hostile attitude. He gives the squad 2 days to surpass their limits and takes Asta to an abandoned house. There, he begins the devil binding ritual, forcing the appearance of Lieb, the devil from the 5-leaf grimoire. But instead of hatred, Asta thanks the devil for all the help he's received so far and realizes Lieba isn't truly trying to kill him, creating an opening for a different kind of pact. Here we learn Lieba's origin, a devil born without mana who, because of this, was able to cross the gate to the human world. There, he was found and taken in by Lichita, a woman whose body drains the mana and life force from everything around her. She adopts him as her son, until Lucifero, a high-ranking devil, tries to possess Lieba and attacks her. In her final moments, Lichita uses her magic to seal Lieba inside the 5-leaf grimoire, asking him to live.
I love you, my sweet little boy.
The small devil's hatred for Lucifero awakens anti-magic. In time, the grimoire chooses Asta, another boy without a drop of mana. Back in the present, Noct pressures Asta to form a master-servant contract, but Asta rejects the idea and offers a partnership as equals. Libe, surprised, accepts the handshake. The pact is sealed and Asta's arm is restored, not as a sign of submission but of union.